What's up, wrestling fans? You know what it is. It's Thursday. It's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you know it means it's only time for one thing, and that's hashtag 607TWS. That's right, the 607 Podcast, the wrestling show. Coming to you live on twitch.tv/607podcast. And of course, recorded anywhere you get podcasts by searching the Three Fat Nerds Network of Podcasting. Before we go any further, of course, I'm one of your hosts here at 607 Podcast. I'm also the host of the Three Fat Nerds Podcast. I should point that out. My name is Rich, and with me as always, another one of the hosts here at 607 Podcast. And you better know him as the host of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour Podcast, better known as the ODPH. I'm talking about Ken M. 607
Podcast fam, what is happening? What's going on? What is good? Are we ready to talk some wrestling?
Oh, I hope we are. We got a big show as, it's per normal. That's the one thing that I got to say in COVID era that stayed the same for us, and that was our wrestling show.
Facts.
Has continued to be full of different things and entertainment. But before we go any further, I think we should let these fine people know how they can get a hold of us in case they want to chat with us about anything we talk about here or anything at all. And of course, big weeks of news for Nerdum and everything else. You can find us for that as well, as long as sports is for you. So tell them how to find the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour Podcast.
Simple. You want to find out everything going on with the ODPH, and I hope you do. Swing on over to OchoDuroParlayHour.com, where you want to join in the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all our social media accounts. And always remember to use the hashtag ODPH.
And of course, if you'd like to check out the Three Fat Nerds Podcast, that's simple. You can, or if you would like to check this in podcast form, because we are in podcast form on that, just type in Three Fat Nerds anywhere you get podcasts. Of course, all that information comes to you at 8122productions.com. And, the social medias, everything's there. Find out about Horror Zone 607. Find out about the Three Fat Nerds Podcast. Find out more about all of our ventures that we do here at 8122productions/607 Podcast. It's all one big, happy, ginormous family, and we're just happy to be a part of it. And you're just taking out
I'm getting because I'm giving the air hug to everybody because I'm getting pumped, I'm getting hyped because we have a lot to talk about.
He forgot that there's the invisible plexiglass there.
I know.
Right connected to the mic stands, because safety first.
Absolutely.
With that being said, though, we also have some, if you would like to support us on Twitch, if you're not following on twitch.tv/607 Podcast, what are you waiting for?
Seriously, we're getting closer every day to that 100 follower mark. And when we hit there, we're giving away a free Funko Pop to one of those lucky 100. But we're also doing a special live stream. It'll be myself and Diesel from the Three Fat Nerds Podcast, and we'll be eating the One Chip Challenge. Yes. So please hurry up and make sure to tell your friends, tell your friends, tell your family to follow because those chips are still bagged up right now.
Yeah, they're still in their little thing. I would like them to not go stale. But furthermore, I can give you what it's going to sound like that night.
Facts.
And probably the next day in the bathroom. Anyways, with that being said, you could also support us monetarily if you choose to, and become a subscriber on twitch.tv/607 Podcast. If you become a subscriber, guess what? You'll be entered to win. When we hit 25 subscribers, we are giving away a $50 gift card to Amazon. And when we hit 50, we're giving out a $100 gift card and so on and so forth. But we'll focus on 25 first. Here's the best part about it. If you are an Amazon Prime a subscriber, if you will, you get one free Twitch Prime subscription a month. So that means you get it for free. You can gift that to us every month, and that enters you in, and you don't pay nothing, but you support us. And that's cool. And you can still win a $50 gift card to something that you already have.
How can you go wrong with that? How?
And of course, we always accept tips if you would like, and it pops up during the show in the chat, streamlabs.com/607 podcast. If you'd like to donate to help us, improve what we're doing here, whether it's our videos, our, seating situation, because we have these chairs from the game store, because, the 8122 Production Studios is at Dragon Master Games, and they provide us with this awesome studio, but we have like regular chairs, and whoo, I'll tell you what, when we're doing, brother, a little tweak behind the show, and we're sitting here for UFC for 5 hours.
Gets a little uncomfortable.
But the things we do for you, I could say, you're going to hear that a lot. That's the theme of this show. The things we do for you.
Facts.
And if you're following at 3 Fat Nerds Pod on Twitter, you already kind of know that because my Twitter game was on point Tuesday. Holy shit.
Oh, yes.
Until I just inevitably stop paying attention till the end.
Because we will get into that.
We'll get to that in the main event, though.
We'll get into
We're going to
that.
cover all the AEW happenings with the whole huge week. Huge week. If you're on Twitch, you understand that I just did air quotes. That happened in AEW. We're going to cover that in the main event. But we got a big show because in the opening contest, we are going to talk about our NXT War Games review. Of course, we did do a full-on live reaction and commentary that you can find right here. It's still up. So if you want to check that out, and thank you for it. It's been doing very well. A lot of people have watched it. Thank you guys for watching it in post. Even it's a lot of fun. We always enjoy having you guys along. Of course, you could always stop into the chat. We had a ton of people stop in this time. We had a lot of fun with this. So we're going to be review that, and then the mid card we got some fun stories. There's some fun stories, and one story that's going to come back into the main event. I promise you. There's always callbacks on this show. But there's one other way you can support us. And we always like to save the best for last. And it's also the cheapest, by the way. True. I always want to point it out. It's the most bang for your buck. And that is Patreon. Patreon.com/8122productions. And you get a ton of extra bonus content. I know Ken is also a subscriber. You get the Three Fat Nerds podcast every week, and it's uncut, unedited, and uncooked. And trust me, that is a lot. The show this week was only an hour and 26 minutes long, but for Patreon, it was over 2 hours.
And let me say this, too, because I didn't even get a chance to put this in the chat. It is one of the best episodes they have done in their 2 years.
Oh, thank you. Almost three.
I know, it's almost going on 3, but I'm saying right now, I was from top to bottom completely blown away by it. Diesel behind a paywall is what you need in your life.
Speaking about being on the podcast, also you get the Horror Zone 607 podcast early, but here's the cool part. You get 2 exclusive shows. Boom! And they're going to be on your screen right about now. Stealing JR shit again. And that, of course, is I Love Movies, myself and Ron, and sometimes we have a guest in talking about movies we love, movies we hate, that other people love. It's a litany. We did Son-in-Law last month. I still don't know what we're doing for December, but that'll be coming up this week when I'm off. Also, Love is Scary with Dr. Derek is the other show. It is the hottest show behind a paywall. I promise you I am not making that up.
No.
And the things that he talks about. Mind you, we brought up on live stream. It is going to be a thing. I am designing it. It will be out in the new year. If you're a patron, you'll know. We are going to have Love is Scary, Diesel's Minnow shirts. Wow, I can't even speak. It's easy for you to say, Ken. Diesel's Minnow shirts.
Diesel's Minnows.
Available to buy. Speaking of available to buy, I don't know if you can see it too well, but I am wearing an official 607 podcast t-shirt. If you would like one of these, hit us up on social media. Hit us up through the website. You can either hit up Ken M, the ODPH, or myself. We charge for XL and below, it is only $10. And for the double XL and above, it is $12. So I think that's a deal.
That is a steal.
And they're all handmade, personally by me. On top of being made by me, on the back straight of the shirt, it's got all the hashtags. There's hashtag HZ607, hashtag ODPH, hashtag 3FN, and soon to be, we're replacing the hashtag 3FNW with the hashtag 607 TWS. So those will be new for you guys when you order them. And we have other shirts as well. You can order some 3 Fat Nerd stuff. I know that we're going to have some Ocho Duro Parley Hour shirts coming up in the new year as well. Amongst the Diesel's Minnow shirt.
Yes. And
the patrons, man, all the patrons are excited. They all want one. I've got orders. I got pre-orders going. I haven't taken any money, but got $10 and $12. And if you if it's got to be shipped, I'll just give you we can work out the shipping, however that works out. So there you go. And that helps support the show. So lots of stuff going on. Pretty soon I'll probably have an online store. I'm making sure everything's got to cross my T's and dot my I's and everything. I guess I'm learning more things as the wife is in school. She usually does all the design and I just do the grunt work. I'm learning more design, and we're also getting into other kinds of printing as well. So cool stuff going on. And we also do custom. So visit and like on Facebook, 8122 Custom Printing. So there you go.
Yep.
There's some cool stuff you can order through us. But that's not what you're here for. You're here for the wrestling action. So guess what, Ken? I know I have it on good authority that this is one of, if not your favorite part of the show. Are you ready?
I think so, sir.
I said, are you ready?
Yeah. One.
And that's right. It is time to open the show officially. Let's talk about wrestling. And where else are we going to start but this past Sunday, NXT War Games 2020. As a matter of fact, why should I even say it? Because it was NXT
of War Games. War Games. War Games.
That's right. So it was War Games. We had War Games. And I'm gonna bury the lead. They delivered.
Yes, they did.
We were worried. There was a couple of NXT pay-per-views ending last year that were not very good. And then we had a really good NXT takeover last takeover. Mm-hmm. And we're like, okay, is the curse going to go back to the other? I think they're over the curse.
I think so.
I think they're over the curse, ladies and gentlemen. And if you are not tuning in for whatever your reasons, whether it's not to like WWE or not, just do yourself a service and just check this out. If you have a way to watch NXT War Games, I don't care how you see it. I know some of it is up on YouTube. There's some WWE's even put some of it up. Mm-hmm. Check it out, or the WWE Network. You can't go wrong for $9.99. And even if you don't like WWE now, I'm pretty sure you like WWE, WCW, and ECW. I watch a lot of old ECW and stuff on there. So, and they also have a great documentary right now with Keith Lee.
Yes.
If you've not seen that, woo, the documentary game is strong.
Yeah, their documentary series is so good.
It's so good. And I'm just going to throw this out there. If you've not seen the Keith Lee one, I know it's not related to what we're talking about.
It's
you need
must
to check
watch.
it out.
It is a must watch.
Because it is a must watch. All right, so let's dive in. Let's talk about it. And you know what opened the show, Ken? I'll give you 2 guesses. But you know what? I'm going to actually give you 3 because it was...
Of War Games! War Games! War Games!
That's right. It was the women's War Game match. Team Candice, made up of Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, and Toni Storm, taking on the team Shotzi, Shotzi Blackheart, Ember Moon, Rhea Ripley, and Io Shirai, the NXT Women's Champion. You know what? I was happy with this match.
This match was very good, especially for opening the show. All the ladies delivered. Io Shirai, salute to you.
The Empress of the Sky doing Empress of the Sky business. I will say this, though. There was some... I had to take off points to this match because there was a lot of timing issues and stuff. But what saved it, this is how good the spots were. The spots were so good, it actually saved this match. I still think this match clocked in right around 4 stars, in my opinion.
I gave it 4.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 4 stars, right around there. And even with timing issues and a little bit of botches, that's how good the spots were. The spots were amazing in this match. They weren't out of place. They were very good. This match also got time. 35 minutes and 22 seconds. And at the end of the day, your winners, Team Candice.
Yes, in the big upset, Raquel Gonzalez pinning Io Shirai, doing a very unique powerbomb. Because it hit the ladder, but it looked like it hit completely solid. And Io, like I said, was the MVP of this match because she took a lot of crazy spots. The moonsault from the I thought she was going to do a moonsault from the top of the cage with a garbage can on her, but she just did a normal dive, which was a lot safer. But if she had done the moonsault, I would have been like, you are the MVP. Go home. Nobody else is coming near you.
I agree. It was such a great match.
Yeah.
They followed this up with the hardest hitting match. We said it on paper. We said it was going to be on paper. Guess what? It was.
Yeah.
It was not disappointing. This was not quite, and I described this as somebody we work with, so I'm going to say it the same way. This was not quite Balor versus O'Reilly. But it was like one and a half steps behind.
Yeah.
This was hard hitting. This is a lot of mat work. Of course, I'm talking about, you see the picture on the screen if you're watching Twitch. It's Tommaso Ciampa taking on Timothy Thatcher. They got some time as well. 16 minutes and 46 seconds. Now, I'm going to point this out. I'm going to ask you if you agree with this now. All these matches were so well paced, in my opinion, that it really never felt like any of these went too long. I thought that they all were the proper time. Even when we get to the main event, and I tell you how long that truly was, I don't feel like any of them made me feel like I was watching something for an exceptional amount of time. I thought they were very well paced, very well done.
No, I fully agree with that. I thought that everything moved at a good pace, that you weren't tuned off and you weren't sitting there, even during rest hold moments, you weren't bored, which was a kudos to everybody on the card.
And on a night, also, I think the booking was done very well, the pacing of the actual matches. We opened up with lots of spots and stuff in War Games, which you expect. Then we kind of slowed it down with some mat wrestling and some very big strikes. Mm-hmm. These guys delivered hardcore. I gave this match 3.5 stars. The reason why isn't not because I didn't like it. It's just because that's the kind of match. A match like that is not going to be your 5-star classic match. It's going to be more of a grindy match. I like it. I would love to see more of these two work in the ring. Speaking of which, before I go to your grade, 16 minutes, 46 seconds. Your winner, Tommaso Ciampa. What did you grade this match?
I gave it a 3.5 as well. It was just one of those slow grind matches. And obviously, Timothy Thatcher was incredible in this. I would like to see him start getting on a roll, but I was actually talking with the fellow ODPH about this. that I think they're holding off right now because I have a feeling he might go to NXT UK before it's all said and done.
That's a possibility.
Because I know he's been losing since he was repackaged and debuted again. So this was kind of a little puzzling, the Tommaso Ciampa won, but I get it if that's the ultimate plan because right now they don't really have a storyline for him.
That's true. Next up was the strap match for between Dexter Lumis and, of course, Cameron Grimes. And I want to point this out. We've talked about this in the when we previewed it last week. We said that this was going to be a sleeper, most entertaining match of the night. Maybe not the best in ring, but it was going to be entertaining. Two great characters, two great gimmicks. Don't care what anybody says. I love both of these guys' work. And this match delivered on that. Right from the get-go with Cameron Grimes bringing his own strap. And I thought that there was going to be something gimmicked about it. There wasn't. But there was a cool thing he was doing that I caught on and I talked about in commentary is that he was not letting them put the other end of the strap on Dexter Lumis right away. So he was just beating down Lumis, staying away from him being connected. Finally, of course, the strap gets put on. His plan goes to shit. And we have a really good match. I liked it. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was entertaining. What was your look on this match?
Cameron Grimes is the best chicken shit heel in the game right now. Nobody's coming near him. He is doing incredible work. And Dexter Lumis has grown on me. I didn't get the gimmick at first, but now I'm in it because it's just weird as fuck. But I'm here for it. And this match delivered. I just don't know where they're going next, but I don't care. I'm here.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. This match got 12 minutes and 52 seconds, and your winner by submission, Dexter Lumis.
Yeah.
I liked what he did with the strap. I gave this match also got 3.5 stars for me.
Same.
Very good, very entertaining. It wasn't going to be your 5-star classic, but at the same time, it was going to be what it was, and it was super entertaining. I like both of these guys a lot. That's going to bring us to the co-main event, if you want. I'm joking. The opening bout would have been. But it's the only title fight on the card for the NXT North American Championship. You have your champion coming in, Leon Ruff, taking on Damian Priest, former champion, and Johnny Gargano, also former champion. And I'm going to just start this off by saying, what a star-making performance this was for Leon Ruff.
Absolutely.
Talk about being all heart. Talk about being impressive. He went out there. He took some massive bumps. He took some good spots. And you know what? For as small as he is, he contended, and they put him in the best limelight possible, even out there with Damian Priest. So the first thing I want to point out, Leon Ruff was one of my MVPs of the night. He had a breakout night on this show.
The fact he took the razor's edge through 2 plexiglass walls.
It almost took out people in
the audience. Like, listen, salute to you. He is a star in the making, and I actually want to see him take on the Jinder Mahal ripoff.
Oh, Santos Escobar?
Thank you, because I blank on his name, because I always hear him, you refer to him as the ripoff.
He's the Mexican Jinder Mahal.
Yes.
Is how I look at him.
And fully give me that feud all day, because Leon Ruff became a star. The only knock I have on this match is Johnny Gargano the head of the Dark Order now?
Like Ghostface Central.
Yeah, like what was it, the Retribution B-sides? I don't get the Ghostface.
Well, T-Bar was like, T-Bar said that's where some of the Retribution guys must have gone, is obviously Johnny Gargano borrowed them for Ghostface.
Yeah, because that's the only thing I don't get with this angle, is the multiple Ghostface.
Well, and then we found out who one of them is, lining himself with the Austin Theory. Of course, that comes into the finish because he uses a lead pipe on Damian Priest, which leads to the finish. And your new North American champion in 17 minutes and 28 seconds, Johnny Gargano. This was a fast-paced 17 minutes and 28 seconds. These guys tore the house down. This match was very good, though. Yeah, I took some points off, a little bit off for that, and that's why this match wasn't higher than what it is. I gave it a 4.25. And this is right up there with match of the night.
I gave this a 4, but I could understand the 4.25. Like, I don't think it would go any higher, but I didn't. The whole thing about the Ghostface thing just threw me off, and I'm like, really? Because like I had on pace for 4.5, or 4.25 too. But it's just something about them doing the multiple henchman gimmick, and then now whatever the deal is with Theory and Hartwell. And just whatever
it's Team Johnny and Candace.
Yeah.
It works out.
I know. Like, I got to get used to it. But when I first saw it, I'm just like, oh, here we go. The Dark Order.
It's NXT Evolution. It's kind of what it is.
Yeah, no, I get you.
In a way. Still. All right, so that means there's only one match left in the main event slot. And once again, William Regal, take it away.
Of War Games. War Games. War Games.
And, of course, in the main event is the men's War Game match between
for the brand team, Team McAfee, if you will, Pat McAfee, Pete Dunne, Danny Burch, and Oney Larkin taking on the Undisputed Era, Adam Cole,
Baby,
Roderick Strong, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly. Now, we were expecting maybe some shenanigans in this match. There was none. Like, as far as, like, swapping people out, blah, 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 there was none. However, what we did get was a very good, probably best War Games match to date in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this match wholeheartedly, but I have knocks on the match. I'm going to let you go first. What did you think about the match? Give us your, well, before we go, we'll talk about how long. I promise you it was long. 45 minutes and 1 second. And your winners was the Undisputed Era, just so you guys know. So go ahead. Tell me where you're at with this match.
All right, so my grade was 4 1/4, so 4.25. I really enjoyed this match, but the biggest takeaways from this is, why in God's name did Pat McAfee kick out of the Panama Sunrise? That move is now officially not a finisher. It is now Super Kick 2.0. The fact that you had a part-time wrestler kick out of that finisher.
You're a very generous part-time.
Yeah. Well, because you know what? I'm
celebrity guest?
Well, no, because you know what? I'm fully convinced after watching his program the next day, which I will say this. I'm not a fan of him and his whole for the brand, but I do respect the fact that he is a fan of the business and he is still selling the gimmick. He had a neck brace on and he was living the part, which now I'm convinced he's coming back. And I am even
Of course he is.
I'm even going to go out on a limb. He's going to win a belt before it's all said and done.
Please don't.
I have this aura about it because the way they protected him in this match, too, was very smart. He did get some spots in, but for the really big ones, he wasn't anywhere near. He did do that jump from the top of the cage that everybody did not catch him, which that was just hysterical in my opinion. But even so, the fact that he kicked out of that big finish, I knew that he wasn't going to take the pin, but then how they even wrapped it up with Kyle O'Reilly coming off the top rope, even though with the vicious knee, we got to admit,
that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Still, I do take some points for that because it's like, this isn't over, and I feel that he's going to get one over and a belt with it, too.
So, first of all, not the match, but I give Pat McAfee...
-5 stars!
I don't like Pat McAfee. I don't give a shit if he does an amazing job every time he's out there. There's something about him. I just don't like him.
It's just, I don't know, like it's somehow...
It's not like heat-wise. I just don't like him as a human being, which is weird. But, I mean, he's on the list of those other two jabronis as far as how I like him as a human.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something about him and just like, I don't know, that whole like... the frat sport mentality, like that's how I say it. Just like I'm not.
He tries to be the real life Van Wilder.
Yeah, and I'm just like,
and I don't like that.
Yeah, it just doesn't connect with me. Like, I mean, do you? But it's just like for me, this is not working.
I'm a grown ass man. I don't need that shit. He's like my age, if not a little older.
Yeah,
I think he's actually a little older than I am.
I think he's
probably your age.
Yeah.
So, anyways, with that being said, let's talk about the match before I jump into the reasons why I deducted points off it. I gave it a 4.25, tying it with the match before. And actually, that's kind of bad because I originally was having it at a 4.5, damn near going up higher. And I'll tell you why I deducted points. But let's talk about the positives first. That last few minutes of the match, I enjoyed that because we went into like the bitter end on the two backwards chairs. We went into Spot Fest and ending with that vicious knee straight from the top rope onto the chair that secured the victory for Kyle O'Reilly in the Undisputed Era. I also enjoyed the work that was done. I mean, in the match, there was a lot of good stuff. I mean, the match opens with Pete Dunne and Kyle O'Reilly, and that was 5 minutes of just amazing back and forth, just smashing each other. And, you know, the back and forth, it was good all night. We got to see some really cool stuff from Red Dragon. We got to see some really cool stuff from the tag team champions. Everybody got their spots. Everybody got their shit in, and it looked good. And it still told a story. And even though it was 45 minutes long, I said even live when we were watching it, I know this match is long, but it doesn't feel it.
Right.
So that's all the things I enjoy about the match. The reason why I got knocked down is all Pat McAfee, and I understand it's not necessarily his fault because I'll give credit where credit's due. Even though I don't like him, he did a very good job. Mm-hmm. He's very good at that. But the problem is I don't know if it was booked this way. I don't know if somebody agreed to this, or I don't know if it was just him. But even before we get into him kicking out of the Panama Sunrise, well, even before that, he takes a vicious table spot that within minutes, he's at the top of the cage doing a dive, doing the swanton from the top. Within minutes of doing this table where he was allegedly selling like death at first, just brushes it off, climbs to the top of a cage, and does. And literally, it's a minute and 30 seconds. Think about that. That's a no sell. Like you. That's like some Road Warrior Hawk no sell.
Maybe he's the real superhuman.
Maybe. And then, of course, you go into the Panama Sunrise. And the problem with this is there was 2 capable wrestlers on his team that could have broken it up. And it just does not look like a good optic when you have a part-time wrestler that's being nice and Kensworth, or to me, a celebrity guest who is, give him credit, he's trying, but he's still a celebrity guest. He's not a full-on wrestler. He's living partial a dream. He's going to go away. It's not like he's going to stick around forever, ladies and gentlemen. It's just not going to happen. I promise you that.
No. I'm not saying I want to see it. I'm just saying from the optic test, I think he is.
I don't think so. That's a whole other ball game, though. But with that being said, I am just saying that he shouldn't be kicking out of big moves like that, especially when you should be protecting the business a little bit. And I understand people. I'm the first to tell you kayfabe's dead. I'm the first to tell you that. But at the same time, we still have to protect the fucking illusion, man. It can't. If I rag on AEW for not protecting the illusion at times, I can't not do that for NXT. Unlike other people, I'm not going to be biased to one brand or the other. I wear my All Elite Wrestling hat. I watch NXT. I enjoyed this. Overall, this was a 4-star event. This is one of the best things I've seen all year. It was better than the last show by just a brief margin. And that show was also great, right around the 4-star mark, too, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, they're putting on great shows over at NXT once again.
Yeah.
And they followed it up on NXT this past week, the blow-off show after War Games. They followed up very well. Very well. We got the title picture. Finn Balor's back. Karrion Kross is back. Everybody's challenging everybody. It's a good... They have a lot of upside right now in NXT if you're paying attention. But, and I'm once again, I'll agree with CM Punk. Even Pat McAfee's better on the mic than most of the guys in NXT. So that's the reason why you have him in the forefront.
Yeah.
But with that being said, he has to, there has never been a time in the business where a guy who is not a wrestler isn't selling. Even David Arquette, being the WCW champion, he's also the champion of 3FNW. He's also one of my near dear friends. I love myself some David Arquette. He'll always be my champion. But even him, he looked like he got the shit kicked out of him all the time. Him winning the belt was happenstance, if you remember.
Yep.
That's the whole fucking part. I can't deal with a guy who is coming in there. He's being a pretender to the world, and he's getting over. And to agree to do that, that's not humbling. I mean, I get it. Like I said, he's pretty talented, but wrestlers don't kick out of that old.
No.
And meanwhile, a guy who flaps his gums like I do right now, is no selling pretty much. He's kicking out straight. He's kicking out strong too at 2.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. That shouldn't happen. And somebody be like, but if a wrestler did it, you wouldn't complain. But that's the optics.
That's exactly.
But that's the problem. That is the optics, that a non-wrestler was kicking out of a move that has put away guys. There was a finishing move of one Adam Cole throughout the Indies for a long time before he switched to the one shot. And I'm talking about the one shot when it was the drop onto the knee, the suplex on the knee, which he still uses. But still, it's just my point. And I would say the same thing in AEW. I really would. And that's my point. I can't say for one and not the other. And I'd say it on the main roster as well. You guys have to protect the business a little bit, because here it is. We all know it's fake. Kayfabe's dead. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Mm-hmm. Everybody sitting at home, guess what? If you were surprised that wrestling is a work, oh my God.
It's still real to me,
oh my God, brother. I once sat in a locker room. I won't tell you the whole story because it's personal, but I sat in a locker room and I watched Spike Dudley go up to another person and literally look at the guy after he called a shoot headbutt in the ring, and turns around, looks at the guy, and goes, "You do know this is a work, right?" That was his exact lines to the guy. "You do know this is a work, right? We don't shoot headbutt people." I will leave the other person's name out of it.
Yeah, I know the story.
But he did operate a wrestling company for a while. That's all I'm going to say. And that's the point. That's my point. It's a work. So protect the work. We want to be lied to. We want the story. That's my whole thing. We want the gimmick. We want the story. We don't want you giving us everything. That's why I was upset last week. Well, I wasn't mad, but that's why I was upset when the Young Bucks and Tony Khan came out and said everything about the partnership with Impact. Mm-hmm. We know that's happening. Don't talk about it. We know that's happening. We just want to see the story develop. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about that in the main event.
Oh, we will.
Oh, we definitely will. But I'm just saying, that's why this right here, the optics, you had 2 guys, Pete Dunne and I do believe Danny Burch, were both in the corner. Either one of them could have just broken up the pin.
Yeah.
Either one. And it would have saved the move, and it would have given more points. That, and then when I watched it back, that no sell, 1 minute and 30 seconds. You go through a table looking vicious. Looked like he smacked his head off of it, too. To climbing to the top of the cage and doing a swanton.
Yeah.
Come on, guy.
He's
on.
He's a real superhuman. The brand is that strong.
Only if it was Superhuman. I'd have been a bigger fan if it was Superhuman. Although he couldn't cut a promo like McAfee. I'll give him credit for that. Fuck my life. Anyways, with that being said, War Games overall, I think we both gave it 4 stars overall. Very good. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. It is worthwhile watch. It is a very good show. And I definitely suggest to anybody, do you want to say anything in closing about War Games that I might have missed?
It lived up to the hype, albeit though where they're going after this, I'm very puzzled because the whole Pat McAfee shadow is still lingering over. But they definitely had some great spots. The women's War Games, we have to say, if you thought the men's match was brutal, Ember Moon's totally eclipse on the chair.
Woo! But the better end on the chair too, though.
Yeah, but I still think Ember Moon had the strong, most violent move of the night, and Rhea Ripley just tearing that house down.
Oh, I agree. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with anything you said.
Oh, yeah. No, but it was a great living up to the tradition of War Games. War Games!
Oh, wait. I'm looking up the song for what we're going to be playing
it's all right.
for the break.
I could just do a loop of War Games.
But if you understand, and I know you, I know, who do you think's going to get the shot next out of all the contenders we saw in NXT? Obviously, it's not going to be Karrion Kross because I think him and Damian Priest are going to do a little business together. But who do you think they're going to go with?
I would love to see it be Johnny Gargano, but I don't think it's going to happen. Because Pete Dunne would make the most sense to me for that to happen. But I just think the logical booking isn't going to happen. I just fear Pat McAfee is going to wind up sneaking in there. Just for reasons.
Okay.
And I don't want to be wrong. I just want to put this out for record. I'm not hoping I see this. I just fear I'm going to see it.
Right on. I'm with you. I'm with you, but I don't know about all that now. Because I think that they're going to build to Balor against Cross. I think that's the big match that you build to for like WrestleMania time.
I'd be okay
and in
with
between now, it just looks like they're going to waste time to build that, which is fine. And I say waste time in a good way. They're just kind of throwing Damian Priest. That's going to take up a couple months of time for Karrion Kross, and then you get to build to WrestleMania. So I think that's perfect. With that being said, though, we are going to take a break for you, those of you that are, for everybody actually. But we invite you, even if you're listening to this in podcast form. You know what we do during the break? For the live crowd on twitch.tv/607 podcast, you guys are going to see the information about the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour podcast. But guess what? You're also going to get to see, everybody's going to get to take a chance and name that tune for a wrestler. I went a little harder this week.
Okay.
I've had a couple of lob balls.
Yeah, a couple softballs, yeah.
Had a couple softballs, so I decided to go slightly harder. So we're going to play about 45 seconds of the clip. You're going to see, if you're on Twitch, you're going to see the Ocho Duro information, which is OchoDuroParlayHour.com. And then we're going to come back. We're going to touch it too. So in the chat on Twitch, go ahead and drop the thing. If you're listening, wherever you're listening to on the podcast, yell it out loud if you choose to, or just think it in your head if you know the answer. When we come back, Ken M will also guess because he's not in on this either.
Nope.
This is all me. So with that being said, ready to name that tune, Ken?
Bring it on.
Rockabilly. Woo! Yeah. Rockabilly all night long. Rockabilly, sing my song tonight. Oh, this all right. Yeah, show the boys what I'm all about. Make those girls scream and shout me Rockabilly's such a handsome man. Yeah, I'm confident with who and what I am. Well, and the good old boys, they get mad. Lay them out with just one hand, and they're never ever gonna make that mistake again. Yeah, rockabilly all night long. Rockabilly, sing my song tonight. Well, it's all right. Well, show the boys what I'm about.
Oh, yeah. Get it. I mean, it's kind of easy if you listen to the song. Some people won't remember this, though. But, Ken, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, that's Rockabilly, Billy Gunn theme
Yes.
from WWE. Oh.
Yes.
Aw.
Yes.
I had that blocked out.
Well, congratulations. You will be singing that around work all day tomorrow.
Damn it.
I love it. I love it. But you know what else I love, Ken? You know what really, really, really I love?
More Billy Gunn themes?
No. But I got another one. That's right. It's time for the New Japan Report.
That's so much better.
Time to talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling. And of course, we are on the precipice. As we record this tonight, this technically, because if you count it Friday morning at 5 a.m., it'll start. So we're actually 24 hours. We're actually only like 6 hours away from that now. Or no, we're more than that. It's like not. Anyways, no matter what, we're close to the finals of the not only the World Tag League, but also the Best of the Super Juniors this year. They did them together, as you know, and we are getting the finals. But I know who's going to be taking place in the finals because last weekend we finished up the standings, the point standings for both. And we now know what the finals will be going into tomorrow, obviously. And then we can give predictions. So you ready to talk about the final standings going into the finals?
Please talk.
Let's talk about the Best of the Super Juniors. Already eliminated. Let's not even go with all the eliminateds.
Okay.
Let's just go with who finished with the most. Well, we had a four-way tie for 12 points. Taiji Ishimori representing Bullet Club, 6-2, 12 points. All of these guys are 6-2. Sho, 6-2. Hamaru Takahashi, 6-2. And El Desperado is 6-2. And with tiebreakers, your finals for the Best of the Super Juniors will be the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, Hamaru Takahashi, taking on Suzuki-gun's El Desperado.
Kind of surprised at that one.
So here's the thing. If El Desperado's really good. If El Desperado wins, that means he gets a shot at Takahashi at Wrestle Kingdom for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. If Takahashi wins, he gets to choose his opponents for the January 4th show. I don't know if the Junior Heavyweight title will be on January 4th or 5th because it's 2 nights. And we'll be getting into all that coming up, starting to preview that large, brother.
Yeah.
Large. But we're setting up. So, Desperado, Takahashi. If you're asking me, it's been a little bit since we've had a champion win. I think this is the year. I think Takahashi wins, and I think he calls his shot, and he calls who he wants. And if you ask me who I think he's going to call out, I'm not sure. It could be Taiji Ishimori, due to the fact that there's a big butting heads of the Bullet Club, of course, after the departure of Evil.
Right.
However, I don't know. Maybe he calls his shot and tries to call out Will Ospreay. And with that being said, though, Will Ospreay's kind of moved up in weight classes. But if you do it on January 5th and Will Ospreay wins or loses against Okada, you never know. But I would say the smart money would be on Ishimori, or El Desperado wins to set up another match with El Desperado. So either way, what do you think that they might end up doing?
Ishimori.
You think Ishimori's going on?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right because they haven't had the champion win in a while, and I think that would make a lot of sense. And just throw a curveball in there.
All right, so World Tag League, we came down to guys with 10 points, which is 5-3 records. And we ended up with 6 teams finished with 5-3 records.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I would say so.
Here's the teams that finished with a 5-3 record with the 10 points. Suzuki-gun team of Tai Chi and Zack Sabre Jr. The Los Ingobernables de Japón team of Sonata and Shingo Tagagi. The Gorillas of Destiny. Finjuice, David Finlay and Juice Robinson. And then 2 Chaos teams. One, Tomohiro Ishii and Toru Yano, and the other, Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi. Talk about Yoshihashi making that turnaround of having the lowest points in the G1 to turn around and come up with tied for the best points in that. Do you think this paid off for him?
I would say so.
Well, the finals that will be taking place on December 11th, so the day after we record this, so next week we'll be talking all about it. The finals, after tiebreakers, it will be the team of Finjuice taking on the Gorillas of Destiny. The GOD pulled it off like we called in the beginning of this. We thought we were both on the GOD bandwagon. They had a rough start. They finished and they'll be in the finals. One of these 2 teams will go on to Wrestle Kingdom to challenge for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. Because remember, they have a heavyweight and a junior heavyweight.
Right.
So, I am calling my shot. I was riding with GOD the whole time. Gorillas of Destiny I have in the finals.
Ain't nobody realer than the Gorilla.
That's right. So I'm in with Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa.
Yep.
I cannot wait to see this, and I can't wait to go on. So I won't be up at 5 a.m., but I will be watching this because I have a little work. I have a little vacation, if you will, a staycation. You love it when it's the staycation.
Indeed.
And I will be definitely checking this out first thing tomorrow because I feel like it was a lot of fun. I feel like we're going to have a lot of fun with this. So, ready to get into some other news in the mid-card?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Bam! On your screen right now if you're watching on Twitch. Renee Young and CM Punk in a nice little picture. Why, you ask, Rich, Why are they in a picture together? Well, it's simple. Because Renee Young has a podcast called Oral Sessions, and she had CM Punk on this past week. And let's talk about... we got this... there's some conspiracy, if you will, that WWE, and I don't know if it's conspiracy, I think it's real, the WWE plans on, moves things around to other wrestlers. And Renee Young kind of accused something. So CM Punk starts off by saying, one particular person got a role playing a wrestler because they knew somebody who was producing a television show for this certain channel. And when it got shuffled to the office, it was like, no, you can't do that. And the next thing you know, John Cena was doing it. They would literally take every single request that came through and they would funnel it to the one person they wanted to be the face of the company. So that's not really the news thing, because we kind of all know that.
Yeah, we all
happens.
know that.
The news part of it was Renee Young goes on to say, hold on. The article moved. That's so infuriating. Like, I've had so many people say things like that to me since I left too. Like, oh, we pitched this for you. We wanted you to host a fucking cooking show with wrestlers. I'm like, yeah, no shit. That would be great. Nope, they didn't give it to me. They're giving it to Bo Dallas. I love Bo Dallas. Like, go get it. Do what you have to do. But fuck, like, I could never catch a break. Like, I couldn't get anything done. I couldn't even get a podcast off the ground. Like, give me a fucking podcast. Nobody gives a shit about that, but still, nope, you can't do that. No dice. So, first of all, we were always wondering what was going on with Bo Dallas. It looks like he'll be hosting a cooking show based around wrestling.
Yeah, which I'm in. I don't know why. This is just like when you showed me the article, I'm like, Bo Dallas cooking. Like, this has got some crazy potential going on.
But I understand feeling slighted, especially if you get somebody to come to you with an idea and then you turn around and they just give it to somebody else because that's what they do.
I see your point, and I do agree, because I think there was serious contention about bringing ideas there, and some contender ideas that would really make a lot of sense, and she got passed up for, which is egregious in my opinion. But I also wonder if WWE was kind of doing it based off of like, well, we tried giving her own show on the WWE Network, and it didn't take off, even though I loved Unfiltered. I thought it was great, where she did the one-on-one interviews.
Yeah, that was really good.
So maybe they thought, well, the ratings are down, it wouldn't generate. I don't know. Like, I think that she should have gotten those opportunities, because she's amazing. So I definitely see your point, though, but I'm just kind of like, I'm trying to do devil's advocate and think how WWE would have done it.
But I'm glad that she said she's amazing, because she is. She's an amazing interviewer.
Yeah.
And that's why she asked the hard-hitting questions. And if you're going to have CM Punk on your show, you should ask some hard-hitting questions, shouldn't you? So the most important part of the takeaway of this is she came straight out and asked CM Punk, a.k.a. Phil Brooks, whatever you want to call him these days, will you or do you have any interest in coming back to the wrestling business? And if so, what would it take? The question that AEW didn't ask. Mm-hmm. The question that we don't even know if WWE ever asked. Like, we might have asked if there was interest in wrestling. But to say, what would it take? Well, ask and you shall receive, because CM Punk answered the question. And gave a roadmap, possibly, to anybody who would like to sign him. Hint, hint. In the third segment, I'll be talking about it So, here's what Punk said. Without wanting to insult anybody on either side of the fence, any WWE talent or AEW talent, it would take above all an interesting scenario, a story that would be fun to tell, also just the stupidest amount of money. But they could save themselves a whole lot of money if they just presented a fun storyline. Now, what that is, I don't know. I'm a pretty picky guy, especially at this point. Did he just tip his hand completely?
Yes, he did.
He just said, and I quote, something we always kind of knew, that he was going to go, it would take money. Like, nobody's stupid.
Well, yeah.
We know it's going to be a lot of money. Because he's going to earn whatever company he goes back to. It's a huge deal. It's going to be worth a lot of money. He's not dumb. He knows that. He is still at the age where it's viable. Like, it isn't like when we talk about Sting and like worried about him wrestling, or Goldberg or any of those guys and worrying about them wrestling. Punk can still probably get it done in the ring. He's still in great shape. He's still relatively young. He's just north of 40. Mm-hmm. Like, literally just north of 40. I think he's 41.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's outside of the realm of possibilities. Shawn Michaels was putting on 5-star matches at 41.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Punk could as well. Plus, he's the one name out there, and I'll come back to this later. Remember, I said I always have callbacks. He's the one guy out there that will move the needle quite a bit. Like, a lot. Either direction. Mm-hmm. I thought it was very telling that, yes, a stupid amount of money is a good thing to have. But the fact that he came out and added in, I can save a company a lot of money if you come to me with a good story. It would save you money. In other words, he's willing to take less money if somebody just pitches him the right scenario.
So this is my... You want to do locks and leaps like we're on the ODPH here?
Sure, why not?
Okay, so the leap is he goes to AEW to take on the Cleaner, which I will say this, if AEW is smart, they put him in a program with Kenny Omega. It would almost sell itself, but if he's really the best bout machine, has he ever beaten the best in the world? There you go. But the lock, and they've been planting the seeds for this slowly but surely, he'll be facing Seth Rollins like you've talked about in the past.
Well, like I said, I'm going to be calling back to this later, so I don't want to tip my hand too much here. I agree with you in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. I will say this, WWE, as far as scenarios, as when he listed it before, we had him on record before as saying that there were certain people that he would really like to work with. Every person he named was on the WWE roster. There was not a person that was outside of WWE on that roster. He wanted to work again with his friends like Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles. And then he had some young up-and-comers like Finn Balor. And there was a few others, but they were all in World Wrestling Entertainment. All of them, just to the T. And that, I was like, that's telling. So I look at it like this. Scenario, story for your lock is simple. It's been writing itself. I've talked about it a million times. Yeah. The Messiah versus the Second City Saint. And the one thing that WWE can offer that nobody else can, and the one thing that we know that CM Punk covets above everything else, because the only axe he's ever really truly grinded, outside of the doctor and mistreatment and stuff like that, the only real axe that he ever grinded was the fact that he was on top of the world and thought that he should headline WrestleMania, the main event. And in the Fighting the Taker was not a main event to him. Main event is going on last, as he pointed out. And it's the only thing that World Wrestling Entertainment can offer that nobody else can. AEW doesn't have WrestleMania. Impact doesn't have WrestleMania, which I don't think they were in the discussion anyways. But you know what I mean? Yeah. Nobody has it. So it's easy. The scenario is, okay, the storyline that you and him have kind of built online over a little while now, let's just bring it to life. And you go on and you main event WrestleMania. You and Seth Rollins for the title, main event, last on. Mm-hmm. That's the tasty morsel. We'll give you a good enough, because you know they're going to give him money too. But that's a little tasty morsel to get you in the door. Oh, by the way, on your way to Mania, you can wrestle every single guy on your bucket list. And if you choose to be champion, stay around a little bit after, you can wrestle more of the guys on your bucket list. So either way, we can make sure you get a program with AJ. We can make sure you get a program with Daniel. We can make sure you get a program with Finn Balor. We can make sure you get whoever, Samoa Joe, if you get him back in the ring and have, dude, I don't give a damn. I don't care what year it is. Joe versus Punk is amazing all the time.
Let it happen.
If you've never seen the trilogy of matches from Ring of Honor, I suggest you type into YouTube Samoa Joe, CM Punk, and sit down and enjoy the 2+ hours of entertainment from 3 matches you will get. Mm-hmm. Because a couple time limit draws in there for an hour. Yeah. And they are entertaining. Some of the best matches. Those are the matches that put Ring of Honor on the map. And those are the matches that got CM Punk signed by WWE. Because he was a small guy. But they watched those matches and went, oh, man, this guy's got something. So I to your lock, that's where it is. Now, that's not saying the other people can't come in. Once again, I'm going to call back because that's something we're going to talk about. It's later. Part of the main event. Yeah. But, yeah, man. That was interesting, man. And by the way, only because Renee Young is a badass fucking interviewer. ESPN, everybody else, you should be banging down her door.
Facts. We've been saying that for a long time.
I've been saying that forever. Yeah. And trust me, she proved it again because everybody else, he's done other interviews. And people have asked him if he's going back to wrestling. Nobody took it to the next level and said, hey, what would it take? And I feel like, yeah, part of it's because they're friends in real life. Because they are. Mm-hmm. They have a good chemistry. They've worked together and they like each other. But I think other part of it is he's usually an open book. If somebody asked him straight out, he might have given somebody else the same answer.
Yeah, but that's why Renee Young is one of the best, and she should get the interview show that we have been saying for years now. She deserves.
Absolutely. Moving on. You're probably wondering if you're watching Twitch, and I'm letting you know in your ears if you're not watching Twitch, why is QT Marshall on my screen? Well, that is simple. Because recently, the AOP has been released from World Wrestling Entertainment. Their contracts actually expired. They were not re-signed.
And little speculation about where they'll land, including All Elite Wrestling, brother. Because why not? Well, I mean, so QT Marshall was on Talk is Jericho this past week, as a lot of the dirty laundry always comes out there. And he had this to say that involves the AOP. We'll talk about it right now. Here's the exact quotes. I had surgery on my neck, had 2 discs fused up. I went back to do more extra work. I spoke to Regal and he said, you're kind of a liability. I got booked as an extra for NXT and they wanted me to work with the Authors of Pain. And I said, no, I didn't have anything to lose except my life and career. They're super big and it was 2-on-1 and me and another extra versus one guy. He had already hurt somebody, Anthony Bowens. He power bombed one onto Bowen's head. I said to him, what moves do you think you're going to do to us? He said, why does it matter? I was just curious. He said, I'll probably do this power bomb and the other guy onto you, DVD, you guys. I looked at Scotty 2 Hotty, who was the agent for the match, and was like, nope, not doing it. I had this neck surgery. It turned into don't take the booking. Then I was like, you don't even have to pay me. I'll drive back to Atlanta. Be okay with it. Don't ever book me again. We tried. I'll get in the ring with anyone else. But me with these guys who aren't going to hurt me. The kid who took my place got hurt.
Yeah.
Matt Bloom told me they picked me because I could sell. I said, I'm going to take these moves, get up, be okay, and make $200, or I'm never going to walk away and make $200. It wasn't worth it.
No, he's right. That's what I said. When I heard the story, I was like, oh, boy, here we go, because he was not wrong about what he was saying.
Oh, he absolutely wasn't wrong about what he was saying. And I applaud him for it. And if you think that AOP is coming to AEW, they may. They still may. But the fact that QT Marshall has the ear of not only Cody, but also Tony Khan, as we found out from Cody's interviews with Unrestricted and such. By the way, Unrestricted podcast this week, if you want to tune to AEW Unrestricted, features John Silver and Alex Reynolds. I used to know them as the Beaver Boys back in the day. You know them as the Dark Order team. Come listen to some stories. Unrestricted has gotten really good. I do enjoy it, and I can't wait to hear for myself. I have not heard it yet. What Reynolds and Silver say on Unrestricted.
Silver is like the breakout star right now of AEW.
Oh, absolutely.
If you haven't been following him on social and on BTE, he's been definitely breaking out. So
super entertaining too.
Yeah.
Good guys, too. I like it. I love him and Alex both. They're good guys. So, last but certainly not least, let's end it out on this. And you're going to wonder why there is a super old grainy photo of a wrestler named Black Bart. I made sure I got one with his name on it because most of you would not know who Black Bart was. Black Bart wasn't really an enhancement talent. Back in the day when they had like mid-card guys who did jobs to the stars but then beat like jobbers. That's what Black Bart was. Very rough and tough. I do believe he billed himself from Texas.
Yes.
And he's also been a trainer. He's trained a lot of great wrestlers. Very respected man in the industry. He was just on, I want to make sure I get the name of this show right. He was on Sportscadia's Unscripted with Dr. Chris Featherstone this past week. And amongst other things, I do believe he's training David Benoit. I do believe that's what they were talking.
Yeah, I think.
Because they brought up David Benoit on this information. I only saw the transcript and because of the story we're telling. But they bring up David Benoit a lot. So I'm assuming he's training Benoit. Because he also said that Benoit was talking about, obviously going to either AEW or WWE. And that's what got them into this. He kind of goes off the tracks. Now, I want to point this out. And I'm not shitting on Black Bart. I'm not. That's not my intentions. We're talking about an old school wrestler. We're talking about a guy who is now in his late 60s, very old school. Back in his time in wrestling, and this is the reason I'm explaining this because I don't want people to get upset with him because I don't think anything he said was meant to be upsetting.
Right.
And woke/cancel culture is kind of hard. You have to kind of explain these things. The time era he came from in wrestling, women's matches were considered an attraction. Just like midget matches. Or sorry, little people, whatever they're calling it now. I just go by midget because they still call it midget wrestling because I watch MWL, Midget Wrestling League. By the way, if you want to watch it, IWTV. It's actually very entertaining, and some of those guys are super talented. Just throwing it out there. But anyways, these guys, those were attraction matches. Just like Andre taking on like 4 people was an attraction match. It was something to get people in the door. So back then. The women could go a little bit, but it wasn't their job to go. It was mostly their job to, enthrall the men in the crowd. So he comes from that era. So that's why I'm going to say
some of what he's saying, and he doesn't say anything disrespectful. You'll hear what he says here in a minute, and the reason why we brought it up is to talk about. But he does kind of mention, like, in his time, women weren't, involved. And I don't want it to be a shit on Black Bart. I just think what he had to say at the end, for a guy who doesn't watch a lot of women's wrestling but has checked some out lately, is very telling. And it's going to go to prove a point that we were talking about. So when asked, by the way, he was asked about David Benoit, and where David Benoit was going to end up. And this is how he responded. So it's going to go off the rails, just to forewarn you. I don't want to say anything bad about WWF or WWE or Elite Wrestling. They put all in the article and the transcription. He just said Elite Wrestling. But I'll tell you what I do to most of their tapes. Most of their matches, most of their guys, I record it and I push fast forward. You understand what I'm saying? I record it and I push fast forward. The kid kicked me back to the top. Sorry, guys. I record it and I push fast forward because they are so... And that's it. Monday night, this was a reason why I would not recommend him, David Benoit, to go up there. I look on their television show on Raw. They got... Why does this keep going to the top? It's pissing me off. They look at their television show on Raw. They got 4 or 5 women's matches. Back when I was in the ring, if you had one women's match on that card, that was it. That was it. And I'm not saying they are not good. They are damn... This thing is pissing me off, by the way. They are damn good. Or is that what he said? Damn or... Wow, dude, this has gone to the top more times than I can even... I'm not saying they're not good, but...
Loading a lot of ads.
He said, yeah, that was it. And I'm not saying that they're not good. They are dang good. That's what he said. But turn over to Elite Wrestling and look at some of them girls. They can't wrestle their way out of a doggone paper sack. You know it. It's honest to God's truth. For a guy who's not a fan, I'm sorry it took me so long to get it. Literally, you could ask Ken, it kept refreshing to the top of the page. So first of all, you can tell that, he's not a big fan of women's wrestling, but he gave the devil his due. He's like, I'm not saying they're not good. They're dang good as far as the WWE went. He's like, but over there on the other channel, they can't wrestle their way out of a doggone paper bag.
We've been very critical of AEW's women's division because it's just, in comparisons, it's just not on the same level as WWE or Impact.
And the reason why I want to bring this up is that it proves a point. And I do get you can be like, oh, I'm patting myself on the back. No, I'm just saying that you take this old-time wrestling guy, this guy who is like, as old-time as you come.
Yeah.
And you say, oh, brother, what do you think of the women's division? And he's like, well, in my time, it was an attraction thing. We didn't have tons. But you know what? I turned on Raw, and even though I don't agree with 3 to 5 of them, you know what? Those women are talented. They do dang good in the ring. Mm-hmm. But on that other channel... Whoo, they can't wrestle their way out of a doggone paper bag. What? And I mean, to be fair, I think there's some very talented wrestlers on AEW. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But once again, when you book them in bad positions, it doesn't matter how good the wrestling is. It doesn't matter how great you are. If you're booked and it looks like garbage, that's what the perception is going to be. And here's a guy who obviously does not watch a ton. He talks about fast forwarding through things. And he's like, man, it doesn't catch my eye. I just think that if you're going to go by it, sometimes the old timers, even if they don't say things correctly, that's what I was setting up for. Sometimes they're on to something, and wrestling has evolved. I get it, and he's not saying it doesn't.
No, he's just being honest about the product that he's watching.
There's things that stay the same, ladies and gentlemen, and that is entertainment value, that is booking value, that is storylines, that is gimmicks. And your gimmick could just be you turned up to 11. It worked for The Rock. It worked for Steve Austin. It's worked for a ton of people. Or your gimmick could be Dexter Lumis. And if you do a great enough job, you're going to be recognized. But it doesn't matter how good you are in the ring, because everybody can do the same moves for the most part. I mean, some guys can't do certain, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The guys running around doing V-triggers now in the indies and everything is a fucking dime a dozen. I'm not saying they look like Omega, because they don't. And that's my big thing about not doing them. If you can't do it and it doesn't look like Kenny Omega, don't do it, because you're going to get compared to the best. Everybody is going to compare you to whoever the best at whatever it is does. But at the same time, people understand that. And if they see somebody that's doing a good enough job, they're like, oh, okay, this is good. It's passable. Mandy Rose comes to mind. Her V-trigger is very good.
Yeah, very good.
So, and that's very impressive. But the other things is like booking. Like, you got to book the right things. You got to book the right storylines. Those are things that are ingrained in wrestling. And I know people will be like, well, you don't have to have those because the indies. As an indie fan, every indie promotion runs storylines. Every single one. I dare you to find me one that doesn't. Yeah, there's matches on the card where you have an attraction match where you have a guy coming in and you don't know if he's going to be coming back, so you just have an attraction. That's not what we're talking about. Think about it. Everyone has title fights. They all have stories going into the title
they all
fights.
have champions.
They all have whatever. And it might take some months to pay off because of getting guys back in, but they have them. There is a story to tell. And even before that, there's a basic story in the ring of heel versus face. The good guy versus the bad guy. You need the audience to pop, so you have to have them invested. They can't be invested if not. Now, mind you, I've talked about it before. You can blur the lines. You can have somebody in the gray area. But once again, Steve Austin was never acted like a face. Never.
He was always
a heel, but they booked him against other heels and booked him strong enough because people were cheering for him. But they didn't go, hey, you got to go out there and fucking pose to the guys like Hogan.
Yeah.
No, he went out there and did the same badass shit he was doing, beating people up, hitting them with whatever he could, and winning matches. That's what people paid to see.
Facts.
So you can blur lines, you can have stories, you can have different things. It doesn't have to be black and white, if you will, but it has to have a story. And that's the problem in the AEW women's division. There is no story. I mean, they're trying something now with Abaddon, only so Sheeta's scared of her, but nobody knows why. I mean, it could be just how she looks. I get it. But her sitting up like the Undertaker on Dynamite doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, it was that. Well, that whole storyline was just kind of thrown together in an interview segment again.
Also, I want to point this out, and this is not to be mean. I think she's come leaps and bounds from where she was, but Abaddon's greener than goose shit.
Yeah,
like she still doesn't hit moves correctly. She still doesn't put shit together properly. She's still green, but you have her out there fighting your champion, which is going to make the match look bad. Mm-hmm. When you have plenty of people who are talented enough to fight your champion. Plenty. It's not like you don't have people on that roster who are talented. It's just how you use them.
Exactly.
So I've been very critical of AEW about that. We're going to talk about that a little more in the main event. I've also been critical about, the differences as far as women's divisions. WWE has kind of done a good job. I mean, for the most part, all of their brands have a good, healthy women's roster. Sometimes they don't use the best stories, and we shit on them when they don't. But for the most part, it is what it is. They have a deep roster on all three shows. Mm-hmm. And Impact has one hell of a deep roster. And the one positive I can say about Impact.
Oh yeah, no, Impact Wrestling has always had a very good women's division. Always, that's a staple of that promotion. And for AEW to still be struggling at this stage, it's a little alarming, especially when they come out publicly a lot of times, and we've talked about on the show saying that it's really better than it is.
Yeah. Once again, you got to stop drinking the Kool-Aid, your own Kool-Aid, and take a step back and realize that that everything's green. Not everything. You got to cultivate.
Yeah.
You got to lay down. You got to sow the seeds, and you got to harvest at the right time. And I'm not saying that Abaddon won't be a draw at some point. I just think this is not the time.
No, it's
and
too
that's
soon.
why, and that's also why you have somebody like Black Bart being like, "Oh, they don't have any talent." It's not because some of the people on the roster don't have any talent, but when you put them against there with people who are green and you're pushing those people to the gills, it doesn't matter. It's going to come through. The same thing happened in WWE. Remember when the Lacey Evans?
Yeah.
Before she was a little seasoned and they pushed her a little too soon, and that didn't turn out too well.
Yeah.
And that still hurts her to this day, where she's actually become a lot better. But they could have saved themselves the aggravation if they would have just waited. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's always a give and a take. And once again, every company fails on it. So it's not just a shot at AEW.
Right.
I'm just going by what the vet says. And you know what? You don't have to like how they say it, but you got to listen to the veterans because they know a lot of times they know what they're talking about. Even if they're full of shit. I'm looking at you, superstar Billy Graham. There's always a kernel of truth. I mean, I didn't like what he said about Kofi Kingston when he was champion, but he wasn't completely wrong either. And eventually that caught up, and the crowd turned on him, and that was ugly. But then they wanted to defend it when he lost in like 10 seconds to Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Where were you guys before when you were like, they should just take the belt off him? It ain't working. like, what the fuck? Got to make up your mind, guys.
Wrestling.
With that being said, though, we're going to take a break. You're going to hear the theme song for the Three Fat Nerds podcast called Fail Better by our good friend Shot at the Robots. You can find that on the Passive Aggressive album. You can find it on Spotify, YouTube Music, Bandcamp. Support them. They're fucking awesome. They also have a Patreon, correct, Ken?
Yes, they have a Patreon with a lot of cool merchandise. They're doing some YouTube vlogging only for patrons, so they have got some really cool stuff you definitely got to go check out.
If you're on Twitch, you'll see the information for the Three Fat Nerds podcast. If you're in your car, you'll just get to hear some cool music for about 30 to 45 seconds. When we come back, it's time for the main event of the show, and we're going to be talking all things All Elite Wrestling and what's going on. The big promising future, is that in jeopardy? What's going on? We're going to talk about it when we come back. Let's get ready to rumble. It is time for the main event of 607 TWS. And we told you we were going to be talking everything to catch you up with the big news from last week with AEW and Impact. You know, I said AEW, but the Impact logo is on the screen. So I'm sure I confused somebody. But we're going to start with Impact because that happened on Tuesday. So what I'm talking about, let's first talk about why we were at Impact. Last week, the cleaner Kenny Omega became the AEW World's Heavyweight Champion. And after the match, after they scurried away, him and Don Callis said that you could tune in on Tuesday to find out about it. Well, Tuesday is not an AEW day. AEW is on Wrestling Wednesday. But you know what is on? Impact. Impact is on Tuesdays, and sure enough, on Impact, they showed up. So before we get into that, let me say something about Impact. So we tuned in and watched the whole show.
Yes, we did.
We were literally thinking about streaming it, but then I had some little car difficulties and there was a miscommunication. And I am blessed that somebody was looking out for me, because if I would have streamed this, you guys would have seen a lot of eye rolls and a lot of bad shit, because you knew more people were going to be watching. And at the height of Twitch, I've found out through numbers at the height, there were around 70 to 75,000 people watching just on Twitch alone. For most of the show, there was between 30 and 50,000 people watching by my count, by looking at the viewers. Ready for this? Their normal show, their normal good show, like that does really well, has 10,000 viewers. They average right around 7. So we're going to go with the 10,000. During the show, 3 to 7 times the amount of people that normally watch Impact were tuned in.
Yep.
So this is a lot of new eyes on your product that you could possibly bring in and hopefully retain and come back next week and have a bigger show. This should be beneficial to you. But what do? They give us the most lackluster show they could possibly give us.
Yeah, there was nothing really to write home about. I mean, they kind of teased. What they opened with was Josh Alexander versus Alex Shelley, I believe.
Chris Sabin.
Or it was Chris Sabin. But they could have just opened with the North versus the Motor City Machine Guns.
Absolutely.
And that would have absolutely caught the internet on fire. You got excited for the show. Next up, you had Brian Myers versus TJP.
Yeah. A battle of former WWE employees.
Yeah.
Then we had the women's tag team tournament match, which has 4 great women's wrestlers.
Yes.
But they gave them 0 time.
Yeah, which was really weird, especially for Impact, like we said last segment, who is notorious for having a great women's division and giving them time to steal the show.
I mean, that was the one time during the show they were taking shots at AEW as well, saying about how great their women's division was.
Yeah.
But yet they didn't over-accentuate it, which is really sad to me.
Yeah.
And then we had a main event match for the show, which was your Impact... first we had an interview segment. The best live portion of the show was the interview segment. Sami Callihan and the return of one diehard Eddie Edwards.
Yeah.
It's setting up a whole bunch of stuff, including Sammy saying, "Roll that what beautiful bean footage," was amazing. I was a fan of it. But then you have the main event. The main event is the Impact World Champion Rich Swann, teaming with Willie Mack to take on the team of the TNA champion Moose and the man who will be getting a shot at Rich Swann this Saturday. Oh, yeah, if you didn't know, this Saturday is Final Resolution, which is free with your subscription to Impact Plus, I do believe it's called. And, you know, they barely touched on that. Like about 5 times during the show, they mentioned Final Resolution. I'm being serious. They mentioned AEW a lot more, including not doing their regular opening package to just show you the highlights from Dynamite. And it's putting over AEW like it was no tomorrow. But anyways, Chris Bay was the partner of Moose. And Chris Bay will be taking a shot at the Impact title. I like Chris Bay a lot.
Yeah. It's going to be a great match.
It's going to be a good match. I don't know why you're not, you know, really over-exaggerating. So, with that being said, there was nothing that was like, hey, I should tune in next week. I should tune in again. And I feel like they dropped the ball big time with that. Now, let's talk about the highlights. Before we even get to Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the highlights. There was 2 highlights in particular. And I'm going to go in order. The second highlight of the show was the paid advertisement by AEW, which featured Tony Schiavone and Tony Khan with the backdrop, the old World Championship Wrestling backdrop that they use when they're doing like live things.
Right.
And for once, I got to give the boss, TK, his due. TK, man, he was clutch in this promo. He shit all over Impact.
How come he can't be this good at media scrums?
All over Impact. And I know part of it's a work, but the shit he was saying, woo! Now, mind you, Impact is doing nothing but putting AEW over. Tony Khan mentions to Tony Schiavone, oh, you worked for Impact before? And Schiavone was like, yeah, 2 weeks back in 2002, and then I quit the wrestling business for 18 years. And Tony Khan looks right at Schiavone, he goes, I'm glad we brought you in, man.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm glad that we brought you into a better wrestling show.
This was just completely mind-blowing, the simple fact that Impact was putting over...
The red carpet!
You would have thought it was Impact Dark. Like, that's how much of a spin-off show it was to AEW. Legitimately. We'll just call it Impact Dawn. That's how much it was a spin-off. They could not have been more happy to highlight the greatness of AEW. Meanwhile, AEW came in and literally gave them the middle finger.
Oh, it gets better. At one point in Junction, TK puts over that Dynamite will be coming up on Wednesday and that you should tune in because there's better matches and a better wrestling show on Wednesday that you should tune into.
My God.
And then, this is going to come into play later. I just want to throw it out there now. The one last thing that he said that it was of note during the whole thing in between was that he was guaranteeing because of his contract that Kenny Omega will be on Dynamite. And he was inviting Don Callis to come back because he wanted to have him there. He, you know, we got something planned for you guys. Show up on Dynamite. Okay. Keep that in mind. I just want you to put that away because we were going to go back to it when we start talking about AEW. The other thing, though, the best thing of the night. So if you're watching on Twitch, that means you don't get during the commercial breaks, they run a Twitch ad, which only lasts about, you know, a few minutes. And then you have to cover the rest of a commercial break. So what they do is they show highlights of old Impact stuff, which they did a very good job on this. They showed like AJ Styles highlights, Kazarian highlights. Everybody was either in AEW or WWE. And at one point just before the women's match, they showed a really good highlight of Gail Kim taking on Awesome Kong, and really accentuated coming back that, yeah, our women's division is better. That was the only time they really took a shot and kind of like went there. And they're not wrong. But they played one highlight that stole the entire show. And I have to play it. We play it for you on the show from time to time. And I think we're going to play a little snippet of it because this was the promo.
You take your 33 and a third chance minus my 25% chance, and you got an 8 and a third chance of winning. But then you take my 75% chance of winning. If we used to go one-on-one and then add 66 and 2/3%, I got 141 and 2/3 chance of winning.
And he did have 141.2% winning of that night. So that was the best part, is watching Steiner math and a replay. And that includes what we're about to talk about. The reason we sat through it. By the way, I tweeted at 3FatNerdsPod. At one point, I tweeted at Tony Khan. How about some hazard, as a proud member of your press team, how about some hazard pay for having to watch this? And then plug Dynamite.
Yeah.
That was how real this was. So anyways, we get to the final from a tour bus. Because obviously everything was filmed. One more shitting on moment, by the way, because it's going to come back to play when we talk about it here in a second. right before the tour bus, the Impact Wrestling champion, Rich Swann, with the belt over his shoulder, goes to exit the building. A Impact security guard says, "Oh, hold on. Your name's not on the list. You can't exit out into the parking lot by orders of the World Heavyweight Champion." And Rich Swann looks at him and goes, "Is Moose pulling this shit again? Like, he's not the real champion. I'm the champion." He goes, No, sir. The real World Heavyweight Champion, Kenny Omega. You told an Impact employee on tape told the Impact World Champion that he had to stay inside because the real World Heavyweight Champion had the parking lot blocked off. And then Josh Matthews walks by, gives his name, and he goes out to the bus. How much could you shit on your champion?
Everything AEW did was the big middle finger to Impact. I mean, we even forgot to mention during the whole paid infomercial, Tony Khan alluded to buying Impact.
Yeah, he said, "There's a rumor that I'm going to buy Impact. Maybe I will."
Yeah, which, how insulting is it? I mean, everything that Impact was trying to do to shine, they got completely wiped off the map. They were just the second fiddle on their own show. They didn't even look like on an even playing field.
I mean, I'm going to say it before we talk about the Omega segment. This is kind of AWMO, though. Remember when they did the cross-promotion with New Japan? Mm-hmm. And it was all New Japan doing promotion work, and AEW mentioned it one time before Wrestle Kingdom?
Yep.
That Moxley and Jericho were going to be on Wrestle Kingdom? It's just what AEW does. Partnering with AEW, you should know what you're getting coming in.
Yeah.
So anyways, with that being, and I'm not mad about it, by the way. If anybody at home thinks I'm shit on AEW for that, I'm not. I think it's smart business. It's the wrestling business. We'll get to that at night too. So they finally go to the bus. Josh Matthews sits down. He asks some stupid questions. He gets made fun of a lot. Let's be honest. But here's what the takeaways. I just want to give you my takeaways, and you can add to them. Mm-hmm. So the takeaways for me, as Don Callis said, starts off by saying that this isn't something that came up from days or weeks or months. We've been putting this plan together for years. He gives the backstory about how Kenny's uncle was his trainer and manager, and so he's known Kenny since he was 10, so he's been in Kenny's life. Kenny alludes to him as a father figure, and he knew that there was something special about Kenny, so they've been planning that they were going to take over the wrestling business for a long time. And finally, Tony Khan so graciously welcomed me into his house, and I gave him the big middle finger, and we made sure we walked out with the belt. They then ask Kenny if he feels bad because of the gentleman agreement. It makes him look like a bad guy, and he plays it off like, well, he hit my father figure. If somebody hit Josh Matthews, even ask Josh Matthews, if somebody hits your dad, wouldn't you hit him? Wouldn't you get him back any way you could? That's all I did. And then I beat him. He was like, let's be clear. And we'll talk about it again. Let's be clear. I beat him with the one-winged angel. That's it. Mm-hmm. So then they go on, and this is the only part of interest, by the way. They go on, and Kenny Omega starts spitballing. And why am I here? Blah, 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 blah. And it's a lot of nonsense.
Yeah.
But then he says something that finally makes a little bit of sense. He says, well, maybe, when I was a kid, I collected baseball cards. Hey, there we go.
Yo.
Where's the yo?
I know. It was very quiet.
Wow. I mean, I know I'm in the middle of the story, but I mean, we can do the yo. There it is.
There it is.
Yo! What up? Dave's in the chat.
Dave, what's going on, buddy?
Yeah, there it is. I mean, I know I was in the middle of the story, but I'll still stop for you. So with that being said, that's what the live thing is about. So Omega says, when I was a kid, I collected baseball cards. And I wanted to collect them all. I collected Pokemon cards at one point. And then as an adult, I've collected video games and rare video games. And you hunt them down. And it's the thrill of collecting. It's not what you're going to do with it. It's just the thrill of collecting. Well, I've got a new hobby I'm thinking about starting. I think I'm going to collect titles. And he compares like, oh, maybe it's the Mickey Mantle card. And, that's the Impact Championship. And maybe, there's, this other company that's the Babe Ruth card or, and he goes on and just kind of like, he doesn't say any other names. He just kind of spitballs that he wants to collect championships, collect titles because he's a collector.
Yeah.
That was the biggest takeaway that I had from it. And then they say that the bus is nothing. Wait until they come to Impact or wait until they come to Dynamite the next night. So what did I miss any takeaway that you didn't there? And then we're going to circle back around to talk about this title collector because it's the only thing he really said on that show that really made any kind of fucking sense.
No, the only thing to take away from this show is AEW came in there and completely shit on Impact. And Impact had nothing to offer back. they looked like a second-rate company, in my opinion, because they came out with a very lackluster show. They went out of their way to welcome AEW and put them over, but it wasn't turned in tenfold. And you could say, well, it's the wrestling business, and you want to try building a rivalry. But on the night that you have your most viewed episode, you come out with a lackluster card that you could have redone it on the fly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you let yourself...
Well, they shot that scene with Rich Swann on the fly.
Yeah.
Just a scene of him in the back.
Yeah, so you couldn't have done a better card that night? Like, I'm sorry. You had the most eyes on your product. You should have stacked it like it was a Mania card. I know it's different companies, but still.
Bound for Glory. We'll use their big show.
You need to use it like as a BFG Part 2. You needed to stack it as much as you could. You had the talent. You needed to do it. You dropped the ball. AEW looked like they were the greatest federation ever put to man, and yet you looked like you didn't even belong in the same breath.
And I'm going to say, the Omega announcement, we were promised this huge announcement. It wasn't huge.
No.
Like I said, the only takeaway that was of any value, because we already knew the backstory of Omega and Callis. That everybody knows that. You know, the fact that they said that they pulled the wool over to win the belt in New Japan. I mean, it wasn't Don Callis' fault that he won in Japan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he did become IWGP. It's just a weird thing. So the only thing of value, and it was said, and we're going to talk about it again and get it in a second, because Dynamite in a minute, we're going to talk about that. The only thing of value is this title collector business. So now, here's where my takeaway is. This isn't what we thought it was going to be. This isn't even a rivalry. This is not Impact versus AEW, which is what we were led to believe it is. This is Kenny Omega and Don Callis saying, we're going to go into whatever company we want to and take their belt.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is, okay, you're working with Impact, so that means that has to happen. Maybe Saturday that'll happen. I don't know. They didn't do any work for it to happen. So, you know, let me tell you what you think, Luger.
I don't know.
That's right. Yeah. I don't know. But they didn't take any, they didn't do any of that. They didn't do any work to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. They just kind of had a throwaway line where he talks about collecting stuff. And I'm for it. But where do we go from there? Do we have another lineup? Do we have another company? I mean, I sent the thing in the post to you on Twitter where I put up a picture of Ultimo Dragon with his 20 belts at the one time where he was just drenched in fucking gold. Like, if that's what we're going to get, I'm cool with it. But don't picture it as a rivalry. We thought we were going to get Impact versus AEW. We thought from the way they were teasing it, we were going to get the Good Brothers against the Young Bucks and stuff like that. That doesn't look like this is how this is working. This looks like it's like, hey, we'll come in, we'll get you a boost, and we'll have Kenny Omega win your belt. But then if he doesn't ever challenge or doesn't win the belt, then it goes out the fucking window.
Yeah, it was all for nothing.
I don't get it. And then there has to be a company after. And so maybe New Japan, if they do the deal with New Japan, maybe Ring of Honor. I don't know.
Yeah.
The button didn't work at first.
I mean, no,
I don't know.
But you bring up all those points. It's just you made a throwaway line that now you got the fans. You were hoping that more fans were going to start speculating, but it didn't come off that way.
So that brings me to point number 2. Now I'm switching the picture over to All Elite Wrestling's logo because now we're going to talk about Dynamite and All Elite Wrestling and this past week of Dynamite. But let's open with Kenny Omega. We could have saved it, but we're not. Let's just open with Omega and Callis. So about halfway through the show.
Yeah, about 9 o'clock.
Yeah, little more, little right around there. Don Callis and Kenny Omega arrive via helicopter. They get ambushed by Alex Marvez for no fucking reason because they're going to the ring to cut a promo.
Yeah.
And that's basically all they say. Kenny gets his intro. They come to the ring with the belt. Don Callis himself. Now, mind you, on that paid advertisement during Impact, Tony Khan said, we have a surprise for you. We have something in store for you. For your deception, we have a treat for you. Keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So they come to the ring, and Tony Schiavone's in the ring, and Tony Schiavone angrily asks about the gentleman agreement right up front. And then that's it for Tony Schiavone, because Don Callis grabs the mic from him, and then they just randomly come up with their own questions from Schiavone at that point and cut him out. So Tony Schiavone's standing in the ring for absolutely no reason. And he's just leaning against the rope for no reason. That's the first thing I noticed. Then, guess what we get? The same fucking promo.
Verbatim.
The only thing they cut out was the Impact stuff, and they cut out the most important part. They cut out the part about being a collector.
Mm-hmm.
So if that is the answer, if that's where they're going, they cut that out of the Dynamite promo. But they go into the whole, we've been planning this for years, and the 10-year-old. They don't go as in-depth because they keep the promo a little shorter.
Yeah.
And they go into that. Kenny Omega goes in once again, and he really accentuates the fact that nobody kicks out of the one-winged angel, and neither did Jon Moxley. So, like, he accentuated that fact. That was it, by the way. And then they leave. There was no confrontation. There was no surprise. Tony Khan, you don't see any video of Tony Khan. You don't even see the Young Bucks come up to him in the back. They follow him to the tunnel. I'm like, okay, they're going to go in the back. Somebody's going to say something. Maybe Tony Khan's going to tell him. Maybe he's going to get jumped by Moxley. Something's got to happen, right? Something's got to happen. The Young Bucks athletes are going to come up and, hey, what's going on, Kenny? What's going on? And he pulls them off, whatever. And then he's just like, oh, I'll tell you later. Whatever. There's a plan, blah, blah, blah. You know, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking. None of it. Absolutely, they go to break.
They completely dropped the ball on that one.
They go to break. So we get the same promo. By the way, and for those of you on the internet that were defending it because it's hard to find Impact Wrestling, it's not. Everybody has Twitch. Twitch.tv/Impact Wrestling.
They put it on their Twitter.
They put it everywhere. Put it everywhere. So there's no way you didn't see that promo. So don't be like, oh, it's okay that they gave us the same promo and shit it all over us fans when they promised us a huge announcement. And they gave us the same shit promo. Also, on top of that, where was the rebuttal? Tony Khan said, hey, I love for you guys to show up. I love for you guys to show up. That means you're going to do something, right? Confrontation. That's what sells. That's what we're here for, right? Mm-hmm. Why did Moxley, who was cheated out of the belt, if he felt some type of way, where the fuck was he?
It just made no sense.
Oh, my God. The Young Bucks are getting asked questions at the beginning of the night by Alex Marvez in the back about Kenny, and they're like, well, we haven't talked to him. Why didn't you at least have them confront him in the back and say, hey, what's going on, man? Doesn't even matter if you give the fucking answer. They could have just done the whole, hey, now, we'll talk. You know what? We got something going on. Come on, we'll talk. Like he did before when they sowed those seeds. Those seeds are not coming to harvest. Nothing's coming to harvest.
Yeah.
They're taking what could have been the best wrestling story, and people are going to be like, well, Rich, they're slow rolling us. Yeah, but you have to give something. I've already lost interest because what are they doing? Now we know it's not Impact versus AEW. Yeah. Now we know that there's some kind of collecting thing, which is fine, but they haven't given a reason or any time frame that we should expect this to happen. And as far as AEW goes, they didn't capitalize on this at all. Am I wrong? Add your point.
No, you hit the nail right on the head because I was going through scrolling for anybody that was trying to defend, oh, well, people didn't see Impact. It's right on their Twitch, or Twitter rather, and
the full video.
The full video. So for anybody that was saying that, oh, well, AEW had to retell it for the fans, like, I'm sorry. No, if you're really down for the cause, you go watch the other program. You for everybody that is true blue, AEW, the hashtag I'm with AEW, you're following your promotion to that show, and then you got to come back and say, where was the big announcement here? Your biggest moment that you had, because you created all this internet buzz, you had a lot riding on this show, and yet you hit the reset button to just say it again, but you take out a couple lines because what? You said them on that Impact? It was the exact same promo. So what are we supposed to think of this? I'm sorry, the fact that you wasted a day of our time to go on another show? Come on.
Woo.
Serious.
-5 stars.
Exactly.
So let's move on though, because that's not all that we had on Dynamite, right?
No.
We had Shaq. I said on this program, and people told me I was wrong. I love when I get told I'm wrong. By the way, it emboldens me sometimes because I was told that you're wrong. Shaq is still a draw. Shaq didn't draw one single goddamn person to the show, not one. And that promo was the worst. It was a way to try to put over Brandy Rhodes again. And the takeaway is she dumped water on Shaq.
That was just cringeworthy, that whole promo.
It's Shaq who talks with the foul of the bouncing ball and Brandy Rhodes who can barely cut a promo. I still want to know when she became Hood.
I just...
I'm being serious. It's really weird. And I know the internet's behind me because I know our boy Dre Driven, that's the first thing he messaged me about. He's like,
same.
When does that energy ever come out? Like, I'm like, I don't know. It never has. All of a sudden, the energy's there.
That whole segment was just confusing. Like, I don't understand what's going on there. Shaq was not wrestling, and then he was trying to put over Jade, and then
I don't know.
And then you had that big cluster at the end with Nyla Rose getting involved, Vicky Guerrero, like the entire women's division. Yeah, Evil. Which,
like, oh my lord!
Which is like, wait, what the hell is going on here? Like,
which sets up an Evil Lise and Diamante taking on Serena Deeb and who was tagging with Serena?
Swole.
Big Swole.
Yeah, like, it just, I'm sorry, like, this is not how you build storylines for your women's division. Seriously.
Doing these confusing as hell.
Yeah, it was like I don't even know what kind of interview segment it was. Like, were they trying to do like the type of interview segment that Will Smith did with Jada? You know, it's kind of like that weird, like they're sitting in the room talking to each other back and forth.
Yeah.
Like obviously different scenario, but still, it was like
there was an entanglement.
Yeah, like I don't understand what the fuck was going on. Like, and Brandy is not getting over doing this. Like, I'm sorry. You're not doing this. You're doing the service to your women's division, because I understand what Shaq was trying to do and put over Jade. And still, where are we? Like, what are we doing here?
I don't know.
Yeah.
There you go. So, let's jump to something before we talk about the big elephant in the room. Got one more observation. The main event of the evening was for the Diamond Ring. Now, they did a battle royal for this to determine this. I thought there was going to be a second Diamond Ring.
No.
Because if it was a defense, why the fuck was MJF in that goddamn battle royal? That makes no sense.
No, because you want to prove he was better than everybody. I got that point. No, like
I still don't get it. But anyways,
I get it, but
Orange Cassidy against MJF. MJF comes out with the Inner Circle. They've all said that they're going to play nice together, and they did it in this match. At one point, Junction, the best friends leave and go get every jobber from the back to be the backup of Orange Cassidy. To no avail, your winner and still holder of the Diamond Ring, MJF. However, out of this, we've got the snap announcement from Tony Khan. The next week, we're going to have a 7-on-7 tag team match. And on one side, you have the Inner Circle, which is some of your biggest star stable, if you will, against Brandon Cutler, best friends, Orange Cassidy, Brian Pillman Jr., and the dude he's wrestling there, what do they call them? The Varsity Blondes. And then one other person that's a jobber on television.
Was it QT Marshall?
I don't know if it was QT or not.
No, it was Austin Gunn, I think.
Oh, yeah. But anyways, it's just Job Squad taking on the Inner Circle next week. That was their big announcement.
And did they give him like a faction name like Varsity Rules?
Yeah, something like that.
like, what the hell was this?
Oh, Lord. Oh.
And like, I'm sorry.
I don't know.
You can't tout this as a win. You can't. I'm sorry. Like, you had a great main event and on paper. Orange Cassidy, MJF. Perfect. And then you had Varsity Rules show up. Cluster mess on the outside. Then you still have Miro come running in, which
cost Orange Cassidy the match.
Yeah, so okay, you're gonna do a feud there. Okay.
Well, they have been, but I don't know.
But still, it's
I don't know.
Yeah, because it's all over the place over video games, so I don't get it. But still, that at least made some sense. But the Varsity Rules stuff, like, stop. Like, what? So you're gonna have the Inner Circle squash them? Because I'm sorry, if they don't squash them, this is a waste.
Well, that brings us to the big elephant in the room. And callbacks and everything are going to happen here. This is the part of the show where I give a shout out to our friend JVD at Villains Demand. Check them out.
Crossover Collision.
I'm a big fan. Of course, he's a big fan of the show. I know he'll be hearing this. And also our friend Tyler from 30 and Nerdy Podcast, also a big fan. This is the part of the show where I talk to them because they like this impassioned part. Like, all of this wasn't actually impassioned. It was just me telling you what happened in my opinions. Now we're going to get a little impassioned because the biggest thing, it wasn't Omega, it wasn't Shaq, it wasn't any of this. The big thing was we're going to finally hear Sting speak.
Yes.
The big news that lit the wrestling world on fire last week, as much as Omega was a big deal, and the Impact AEW thing was a big deal, the biggest thing is that Sting is in All Elite Wrestling and has signed a multi-year deal. You heard here our press release that we got for this show talking about the multi-year deal, putting over Sting. Here we go. He's going to be on Dynamite. He is going to break his silence. Now, once again, before we get into any rating stuff, let's just go over what happened. Once again, I said that they should put that last. Why? Because many people watch the whole show. And it's what people are tuning in for. Nope, it comes in the first half of the show. And it comes at the expense of having your favorite part of the show, Ken.
The pyro.
For Cody Rhodes in our interview segment.
Interview segment, of all things, pyro.
And that's where it comes in. I knew that would make you a fan.
We got to get a come on man for that.
I got to get all this stuff on the board. Remind me to write that down later. Yeah. But, so Cody comes out. Here comes Sting. I'm like, okay, this is a little early for this, but let's go with it. So the first thing we get is Arn Anderson doing this weird, I just had to get close to you to make sure this was real.
And I'm, right now, I know you have an agenda and he has an agenda. I'm just going to powder off.
Yeah, like what
And then Shivani tries to powder off before Sting gives him a hug and a kiss and puts him over and has him say it's Sting, which is fun. I enjoyed it. I marked a little bit for it.
That was the best part of this.
It was the best part. That's my point. I marked for it, and then Tony powders off, and that's fine. So now Sting's got the mic. Cody's got the mic. Cody, of course, speaks first and says, congratulations on coming in. And I've wanted to be in a ring with you for a very long time. And Sting's like, well, I'm not here for you. Drops it. Now, here's where the internet is misconstruing a ton of stuff. This is where I would normally do a whole segment, but I won't. But for Ken's sake, because he hasn't heard in a while.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Tell me lies.
So the internet is decided to say, this is the moment where Sting challenges Darby Allin. What were they watching? Because nowhere in this does he challenge Darby Allin. Now, you could reach and say he does. He says that I've come here because there's something familiar about this place. There's something familiar about this place. Now, mind you, it could be because it's on TNT. It could be whatever. But they do allude to it by the third time because he says it 3 times. And he points that time. He says, there's something familiar about this place. And he points up to the top tier in the spotlight where Darby Allin sits doing his Sting impersonation. Mm-hmm. And then he moves on. He moves on. He doesn't say, I'm come here to challenge him. He doesn't come here to say, hey, listen, I'm going to take him under my wing. Nothing. He just says, there's something familiar about this place 3 times, does point to the thing. And then he goes on saying that, as you know, Cody, I understand, what you're saying. But, the one thing about Sting is I always say that there's no guarantees. The only guarantee is that I'm signed an AEW contract and I intend on being here for a long time. He says just like that. Mm-hmm. He said, but the Stinger, my motives, what I'm doing, you won't know. Nobody knows. I don't even know. And then he pulls Cody in tight with a hug, like a little hug, and says, I'll see you around, kid, and gives him a little headbutt. Like not like a more of a loving headbutt, maybe a little intimidating. And then the music comes on and he leaves, and Cody's sitting there looking like he ate sour grapes. So where, internet guys that are writing reports and doing videos, did he challenge Darby Allin? I have to know. And if you don't believe me, watch the video. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could draw that conclusion, but that's a mighty big fucking leap. Am I wrong? Am I missing something? Am I not calling it right as it is?
No, because the one thing I was fearing is they were going to do the storyline where Darby is Sting's son.
Oh, that'd be horrible.
No, that was literally the first thing we said, something that's familiar and like the whole like vibe. Because that's the way I looked at it. Because he didn't call out. Like, we need to realize something. He's 61 years old, correct?
Right about. Okay. Let me check while you're talking.
He is not wrestling. He has signed a contract, so he will be a member of the AEW team for a multi-year deal.
Yes, he's officially 61.
He is coming off a very bad neck injury. Fact? He is not going to get in there and be wrestling every week. He might do a tag match where he can come in and maybe do like a Stinger splash.
I want to cut you off before you get too far into your rant. I could see him wrestling because he does shit like that. But I don't think he's wrestling full time. But yeah. I just want to play the devil's. I can see him in a singles match because he'll test the waters. He did in WWE. That's how he ended up not wrestling.
Right. But I'm just saying against Darby, no, he's not going to. If he's going to do it with anybody on that roster, it's Chris Jericho. Let's be honest.
Well, I would say Cody.
I
would say that they'll do the Cody match if they were gonna. I would say you want to take care of him, but can I see Sting? I want to play devil's advocate here.
Sure.
Can I see Sting taking on our good friend Darby Allin? Absolutely. And the reason why I can see Sting doing it is because he's crazy. I mean, he's the guy whose career should have been ended because of a buckle bomb because he was willing to take a buckle bomb in his late 50s.
Yeah. From
Seth Rollins. Like, bottom line, a move that he had never taken in his career, but in his late 50s decided, hey, good time to take a buckle bomb. And I'm not passing the thing because Seth Rollins tends to be an injurer as well. So It's not like it was a guy who hasn't injured people prior.
Right. No, I fully get that. But that's why I'm just saying at this time period when especially that's what ended his career, in theory, to go in there and wrestle some of the people in AEW that, let's face it, are not as seasoned and would possibly you
Yeah,
know, put
no,
him at risk.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just playing
Yeah.
devil's advocate.
Yeah, no,
I do
I'm
also
with
want
you.
to point out, but my biggest gripe is that you're running around, and a lot of these outlets are running around saying that Sting challenged him. There was no challenge.
He never challenged him.
He just said there's something familiar about this place 3 times and pointed. I even watched it because one of the owners here at Dragon Master Games, Ricky, he actually showed me some articles. I had seen some articles already. And so I said, listen, Ricky, this is how I settle things. I watched it live, so I do remember it, but let's go on YouTube, pulled it up, watched the video with him. It was the first time he saw the video live. And even I was like, does that look like a challenge? He goes, that's a stretch. I'm like, exactly. And that's why it's tell me lies. That's what the media is trying to buzz this into stuff. That's what the wrestling news is. That's why they're fucking wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There is no reason. Now, does that mean that match might happen? That match might happen.
It might happen.
I understand
but
you're saying that it won't, and I get it, and I would not want it to happen, but it might. And but it's not like they set up for it that moment. He didn't come out and say, hey, I'm challenging him for that TNT title.
No, he just said something that's familiar. So he's
And he
looking
pointed.
Yeah. So like I said, he's going to run an angle that Darby's his son.
Oh, Jesus.
I hope
not.
I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But that's the first thing I thought of. He's like, what? You seen yourself in him? Oh God, please don't say you're gonna say you're secretly, and that'd just be weird as.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the juicy part. JVD, this is for you. You love this juicy part. So, the big elephant in the room was this. We said it. Everybody said it. The reason to sign Sting was an infusion to get the ratings above 1 million. If you believe that Tony Khan and them signed him for anything less, you're dumb. Like, let's be honest, because they care about ratings. I've told you before that there's no reason to care about ratings because people watch most of the stuff not on television. Proof of which is that it was the number 2 thing on television with under 1 million viewers. 995,000 people viewed TNA Impact, or TNA, wow. Woo! AEW Dynamite. Wow, I'm already on a roll, guys. AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday. That's not even 1 million. It was number 2. That's fine. But that shows, once again, how weak television is. I've been saying that the whole time. The TV is not the end-all, be-all. With that being said, though, I do believe a television company does look at their thing. The whole point of AEW is trying to get to that 1 million mark. And everybody out there marching to that Brian Alvarez drum, you know, is out there putting out whatever. So they got almost there, 5,000 away.
Almost.
But
Almost is the key word.
I said on this podcast or Twitch stream, whatever you want to call it,
We both said it.
and you agreed that if they didn't make 1 million, it was.
It was an epic fail.
So you had Sting, Shaq, and Kenny Omega payoff, and you didn't hit 1 million. Now, mind you, the first thing that AEW fans are going to jump to is NXT only did 600 and some thousand. Mind you, they've only been in the 600,000s for a while now. They do need to do something to boost whatever, but guess what? The only person in a war is you. I got to point this out. Oh.
Hey, what up,
Oh,
Dan?
wait a minute. Is that a subscription?
Yes, it is. Subscribe for 2 months.
Oh,
Shout out.
wait a minute.
Game Vault Pod.
Game Vault Pod into his house. And guess what?
Hit that music.
Boom! Gotta love it. Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much.
Shout out to Game Vault Pod.
Shout out. Big, huge shouts. Game Vault Pod. Twitch.tv/Game Vault Pod.
Yep, they were doing Cyberpunk.
Oh, yeah.
So you know you gotta be watching. I was catching the stream because I was watching AEW. I had them on the computer trying to catch both. They did an amazing job with that.
I was going to say, I'll be catching more of that soon. Unfortunately, you did it on the night I had to watch AEW. In hindsight, I want to be completely upfront with everybody in this listen to the podcast, watching on Twitch, and you, Dan, and not because of subscription. In hindsight, if I would have known how AEW was going to be, I would have just watched the stream.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, the things I put it out there in Twitter world, and I know you did as well. The things I do for #607TWS. Oh my lordy.
Yeah.
Oh man. So with that being said, though, all right. Moving on to like where we were going with this, the 995,000 was short of 1 million. I'm sorry. No matter what, that was going to be a fail to me. That was the mark that was set. That was the reason to sign Sting to the deal. That was the reason to have everything going on, is to hit that 1 million mark. The 1 million mark is very important to Tony Khan. I know Tony Khan's painting this as this big win, but down deep down, you know that he knows that they didn't hit 1 million. You can strew that as however much you want.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, here's the other thing. War is over, ladies and gentlemen. Alvarez put out their NXT, I hate to say it, but NXT in the mud because they finished 37th and they finished second. No, man. Guess what? NXT, if you want to look at it as a war like that, the Wednesday Night War has been over for a while.
Yeah.
AEW dominated. You heard it here. You ready for this? The war is over. Woo! Woo! AEW. If you AEW fans want to know, the war's been over. The war's been over. The war between NXT and AEW has been over. You've destroyed them in the ratings if that's what you're going by. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Kudos, everybody. Let's agree on that. The problem is that's not what's going on. The real war, according to your people, according to you, is WWE and AEW.
Yeah.
WWE's weakest brand is Raw right now, currently. Last week was a 1.74 million.
Mm-hmm.
You're coming up way short of it. That million is to try to boost to Raw. NXT, they don't give a damn. See, that's how much ratings don't matter, folks, is that USA and WWE does not care what NXT does for ratings. As a matter of fact, I found out doing some digging work, because it's a public shared company, USA gets most of the advertisement revenue from NXT. They only paid them $50,000 to put NXT on the air to sign a 3-year deal. And they get most of the ad revenue.
Yeah, so it's a win for them.
And the ad revenue, the people who buy advertisements, buy it from WWE. So therefore, they don't care because they get a package to be on Raw and SmackDown as well. WWE gets their cut from the Raw and SmackDown deal, and they siphon some to USA. That's how this works, folks. And no matter what USA was going to run, whether it was SVU reruns or whatever else they run over there.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's all Law and Order.
They draw more. 600,000 is more than they're going to do for an SVU run out.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that's the math. That's why I've been saying forever. The reason NXT is there is to stop you guys from getting to 1 million. And even with NXT doing what they did, which is their normal 600,000. For the last few weeks, 600,000 seems to be the mark. They peaked into 700,000 at one point. The really worrisome thing that I've had with AEW for a long time is how far they'll dip and go up. Remember, they lost a few weeks ago, and they only had 700 and some thousand, and NXT beat them by a few thousand, and it was 700,000. Mm-hmm. So that's a big dip. You know what I mean? That's a big swing. But we'll say you guys have been right around 900,000. AEW's been right around 900,000. But the whole point is they break 1 million. It's to compete with WWE, which is Raw and SmackDown. That is what the goal is, correct? Am I wrong? Am I missing something?
No, you're facts on this. And this is why AEW has not won.
But here's the thing. Yeah, you beat NXT. I've said that before. It doesn't matter. Good for you.
NXT is not the big target.
Without NXT running, you still drew the biggest house you've drawn with them running against you at 995,000. Came up 5,000 short of 1 million. That means if NXT wasn't running, you'd have been over 1 million.
Oh, easy.
But where's the payoff? How much money is this thing getting? A lot. Multiple years. And the whole deal was 1 million. That's a fail. I'm sorry, that's a fail. That is a fail, AEW. And then on top of it, you got a whole bunch of people that I'm assuming tuned in. Like, it got you closer there, maybe 60,000. The week before was, 930,000 or 925, something like that. And that was without Sting being announced. Mm-hmm. So that was just off the strength of Winter is Coming. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
But they did a great job hyping it up, though.
And it was a good event.
Yes.
We said it was the best episode of Dynamite today. This episode of Dynamite, not so much.
No.
So even though you had maybe 30, 40,000 new eyes on your product, you did what Impact did and dropped the ball. Are they going to tune in next week? Probably not.
Well,
I would be surprised if you guys don't drop down slightly below 900,000 or close to 900,000 for next week, no matter what.
I was going to say, the goal has to be now, can you retain over 900,000? Just 900,000. Because if you drop below it, like let's say they drop to 750. That's a
or 800
big
or something.
Yeah. If you drop below 800, that's a fail. And I would be cause for concern.
So, callback. Ladies and gentlemen, the Savior has reared his head again. And I'm sorry to say it is. It's true. And sometimes I don't like CM Punk. But the Savior has reared his head again and said, hey, if you gave me a good scenario and a good amount of money, I'll come in. If I'm Tony Khan and I really want to make a difference, there's only one guy that you can sign. And I've been saying this ad nauseum since the start of AEW. There's only one guy you can sign that's going to move the needle in such a fashion that you might not be beating WWE, but you will consistently be over 1 million.
Yeah.
and that is CM Punk. Because built into CM Punk is every fucking fanboy that CM Punk has ever touched. And that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's casual fans. That's some WWE members. That's a lot,
That's
brother.
some UFC.
That is a lot, brother. That is the answer if you want over $1 million. Not Sting, not Goldberg, which he's off the plate anyways. He's going back to WWE. I know. I'm just saying, but I'm pointing out, not any of these guys that don't move the needle. The guy you need is CM Punk. You need to hit him with a story. I understand you don't have writers. I understand it. But get everybody in a room for however long it takes to put together a package to tempt CM Punk. And then when you go to him this time, first of all, don't text. Go meet with him. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. You pitch your idea, but then furthermore, you go, I'm sliding you a piece of paper. What is the stupid amount of money you want? And within reason, you sign him. So if he asks for $10 million a year, if you really want to win a war, you pay him $10 million for a year or two. Go ham with it.
Yep. You got to.
Because, ladies and gentlemen, that is the only way I foresee them getting over 100 or over $1 million and making a run. WWE Raw is at its lowest it's ever been. We've talked about it. The last 6 months has not been kind to Raw. They're right up between that 1.6. They've dipped into 1.5 a couple times, but they're right between 1.6 and 1.7. This week at 1.74 was actually bigger than what it's been for them. So it's obtainable. You're not going to really hit SmackDown.
No.
Realistically, SmackDown stays around 2 million. Even when it dips slightly below. But it's closer to that 2.5 million, and it spikes up to 3 million at times because it's on network television.
Yeah. Plus, there's also that WWE only audience that watches.
Yeah, exactly. Well, same with Raw for the most part, but I mean, I think a lot more of them, a lot of people cut the cord.
Yeah.
But everybody gets network television.
Yeah.
So my point is, it's going to be hard to obtain that, but you can obtain Raw or close to. With CM Punk, you should draw well over $1 million. For closer to 1.5, easy. So if that's your real goal, spend the money and make it happen. If not, good luck. You've built a nice little thing. Here's what I got to tell you. Get your head to the grindstone. Keep your head down and just keep building. Stop listening to what idiots like Alvarez and all these other journalists and idiots say, and even the fucking toxic fans. Don't listen to what they say. Let them talk. They can do whatever they want. Let them go. Stop grinding axes. Stop letting WWE live rent-free in your head. Just focus on All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah.
Focus on what will make the show better. Focus on building a stronger women's division. Focus on building better storylines. You guys have done a good job lately on storylines, in my opinion. But focus on building those bigger and stronger bonds, reaching out so more people want to tune into your product. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
If you do this, you can get there slower. It's going to take you a little more time, but you're going up against a machine that's been around, in its incarnation of being a nationwide juggernaut. It's been around since 1984. Like, you're looking at a long stretch. You got a lot of ingrained stuff.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, you're facts on
So
this.
you're not going to break it up in just a couple of years, no matter what you do. The fact that you've gotten where you are is actually kind of amazing. You could celebrate those wins, but instead you want to keep stalking smack. Yeah, I mean, you beat NXT. Good job. But you know what the fucked up shitty part about it? Even your own rhetoric, and even Jericho says, oh, it's only developmental.
Yeah, so
once you talk them down, you guys are having and you've struggled. They've won. They've come close to you a bunch. So you struggled with developmental?
This is the biggest. Pay attention to me. You can scream out because you're not seeing the big picture. You're just trying to celebrate a molehill of a win, not a mountain.
So your two options. If you want to go for long-lasting success and build it slowly, continue kind of what you're doing and keep getting better. And I'll give you credit. You've been going that direction. It's taking you a little longer. You could do some things quicker, but still, you're going to grind it out, and you'll get there. And you'll get there, if you keep grinding out that work by the end of this year into 2021, I can see you being over $1 million every week. And making a run possibly in 2 to 3 years. Honestly,
No.
As long as WWE stays at that 1.7, 1.5 to 1.7 on Raw, you'll make a run at Raw in the next few years. You'll get to $1 million possibly in 2021 if you continue to go that way. If you put your nose to the grindstone, and just block everything out and just care about All Elite Wrestling. If you don't want to wait, the option is there. The groundwork is there. Put together a good scenario, and then get a stupid amount of money, which you're a billionaire, you should have. And sign CM Punk. because that's the only way you're getting there with a one guy that'll boost you over. Because if Sting didn't do it, that means ain't no other legend doing it. Because there ain't another legend that's going to come on your show that you haven't banned, brother. that it's going to do. Am I lying?
No, you're not. You're not lying because
Unfortunately, I don't like the guy, and I personally think he's a douche. But
no, there's only
brother.
There's only about a handful of people you could bring on that would move the needle.
Flair, he ain't coming because he's in WWE is his home.
Yeah.
Hogan, he ain't coming because WWE is his home. And even if he wasn't his home, you could turn him for money, but you banned him. So you've kind of shot yourself in the foot.
Goldberg,
but he's happy where he's at. He ain't leaving.
No, he's.
And unfortunately, that's the case. Did you see? He says he got 50 more matches in him.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for life. Brock Lesnar, but he ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, Lesnar ain't going nowhere.
You ain't paying him the money that it takes to bring him Brock. But it would be smart.
Yeah.
Hit that money. He'd come for it. But the problem with Brock is you ain't going to get Heyman.
Yeah.
And that is a problem. That's kind of the joint package you kind of need. And Heyman would turn your company upside fucking down.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you should have done. You should have waited till Heyman's available and whatever. But that ain't never going to happen because Vince is going to keep him on a payroll because he's going to keep him away from you because he knows that.
Yeah.
He ain't stupid. He knows that the one person who could put your whole fucking company in order is Paul Heyman. You know who else believes that? Chris Jericho, because he said it on Talk is Jericho like 10 times. That if they could have Paul Heyman running shit in the back, they would be in a different position.
Oh, it's facts.
But Vince ain't going to let that happen. And Paul's smart enough to make sure that he's getting enough money that Vince ain't going to let it happen.
Right.
And because everybody knows that. That's whatever. So the only person left that you have a chance at is Punk.
Mm-hmm.
Although he is definitely leaning, if you go with the locks, he's definitely leaning towards WWE.
He's going WWE.
But,
you never say never.
But by the way, you got to come strong. Because if you give him a half-ass deal, he's only going to take it to Vince. And Vince will sign a bigger deal.
Yeah,
I will point that out. If he says 10 and you go, okay, 8, he's going to Vince with 8 and he's getting 10.
Yeah.
And he ain't going to look back. Because, wait a minute, no, we'll give you 11. Oh, too late. They've offered me the main event of WrestleMania and $10 million. Like, you guys got to remember, Vince is signing guys he don't give a fuck. Mm-hmm. And he already knows. He knows the pendulum will swing for him as well. He brings back Punk, and you're going back to $2 million in a raw easy.
Yeah.
And that could be the ace in the hole that he's waiting on. He's just waiting until you guys make enough noise that it's worthwhile to him. Or maybe when the TV deals come up. I don't know. Because remember, USA's deal comes up at the end of next year.
Yeah.
So you never know. You never know. Maybe Fox's, I think, this year after.
Fox is one more year, I think.
Yeah. Fox is the year after. But, maybe. It could be the ace in the hole that he's counting on. So it'd be smart to try to get him. I'm just saying. But what do I know? I'm just a fat guy talking on a microphone. But we went a little over there. I hope JVD enjoyed the passionate part because he was very happy about my passion last week. I think I hit it. I wasn't as angry. I wasn't trying to fight anybody this week.
Yeah.
But I think we definitely hit the points. I mean, I want to see, and for all those people, I think people have finally started to realize it, so I don't need to say it, but I'll say it again. I want AEW to succeed. I'm wearing an All Elite Wrestling hat. I talk about how I work there. I enjoy All Elite Wrestling. I want to see them. I think they've done very well. If I was in charge down there, I'd be like, hey, guys, we're doing good. Let's just keep going and stop worrying about peripheral shit.
Yeah.
We've destroyed NXT. There's no even reason to brag about it. It's over. That war is done. That war is done and over. It's fought. It's over. Now, let's keep our eyes on the prize, keep our head down, keep improving what we need to do. In a short amount of time, and coming into a 2-year time period, we have done more work to make closing a gap between World Wrestling Entertainment than anybody else. That's a victory. If you would start seeing those as victories, that would help you. But you listen to idiots, and you let them gas your head up, and you start drinking your own Kool-Aid, and here we are, talking about the same shit in and out all the time. Well, Ken, we're at the end of the show. Guess what that means? Tell them how to get a hold of you if they want to talk to you.
You want to find out anything going on? ODPH, swing on over to OchoDuroParlayHour.com and join in the conversation on all our social media accounts and links that you can find right then and there.
Of course, Three Fat Nerds, you type it in if you want to hear this in podcast form because you want to rehear stuff. Go ahead, type it in. Three Fat Nerds, anywhere you get podcasts, and Booyakasha, the wrestling show, and also our flagship show come up. Any information about us is at 8122productions.com. Check it out. You got to find out all the information on what we do and so much more and all the links. Of course, going into that, thank you once again. I got to throw it out there for Dan from Stranger Damies. Game Vault Pod, twitch.tv/Game Vault Pod. Give them big supports for signing up for 2 more months as Tier 1 subscriber and loving the sound effects. Thank you so much, my friend. We enjoy having you on and coming in. Once again, shout outs to our boy Dave who jumped in the chat.
Yeah.
Everybody else who's jumped in the chat. Make sure you're supporting and everything and jumping back in. It's a lot of fun and we love doing it. If you would like to subscribe, you can subscribe to the channel. Get entered in to win a $50 gift card when we hit 25 subscribers. Also, make sure you're following twitch.tv/67podcast if you aren't already. We're almost to 100. We're giving away a Funko Pop and we're doing the One Chip Challenge to celebrate live. Myself and Diesel with Ken on commentary because I can't talk probably after that except for a bunch of explicit. Imagine when I get mad and I keep swearing. That's kind of going to be what it is. But we're going to have a lot of fun. We got a lot of things planned coming up in the new year. We're going to have even more things planned coming out. I did mention before, get a hold of us if you would like a 607 podcast shirt. We got other shirts on the way. We're going to be doing that up. Just hit us up. $10 for up to extra large, $12 for the double X to like 4X, I do believe. Or we can find a 5X, but it costs a little more. And of course, we'll hit you with the shipping. Let us know, and I'll get the shipping fee and throw it in, and we get it to you. Or if you're local to the 607, we can work it out where you can just pick it up at after I make it. You can just pick it up right here at DMG, and it's free shipping then because you're just picking it up. But with that being said, that's one of the nice things that we're gonna get in person shortly. Love is Scary shirts. Diesel's Minnows. I'm making the design. It's going to happen in the new year. Also, I would like to point out patreon.com/8122productions. Find out what all the hype is about with Love is Scary. Too hot to talk about here. I don't want to get banned from anywhere, so that's why we don't go in too deep. If you don't believe me, if you think it's just a gimmick, sign up. It's only $1 a month, and I promise, if you do not think that it's behind a paywall for a reason, I'll give you your $1 back.
Yeah.
The things he say, we've been told by multiple podcast providers and even by Twitch that we are not allowed to talk about, and we are not allowed to play clips, and we are not allowed to even mention certain things. That's why we keep it to a minimum. He's done historical kinks for Thanksgiving. He did food fetishes. That's all you got to know. And of course, I love movies, the other exclusive, and of course, early access to the Three Fat Nerds podcast and that. And then we're going to probably add some videos and stuff on there. I was thinking about that lately. Maybe we'll add some tiers and do some extra like video watch-alongs or special reviews or something. We're hitting up our patrons. I have not heard a bad thing for any of our patrons. Ken is not just the president; he's also a client.
This is true.
So, that's a thing. And also, I know that Tyler from 30 and Nerdy Podcast, he's been there for the jump. I do enjoy having him as a supporter, and not only on here and then also on there. So, it's good stuff, man. We got a lot of stuff going on in the new year. Well, hopefully, when things kind of, I wouldn't say clear up, but I would say more solidify and we know the future. We have a lot planned coming up on twitch.tv/607 podcast and everything else we're doing. We're trying to give you the best shows possible. We're probably going to be bringing in some guests soon, maybe doing some more nerd stuff, maybe doing some kind of council of nerds or something at some point in junction right here on Twitch. On top of that, Magic the Gathering, I'll be playing some of that coming up. Got a lot of stuff planned.
We got a lot of stuff planned. We're just not unveiling the cards just yet, but you want to be front row and center when we do, so definitely drop that follow, drop that subscribe, because you know what? It's all coming back to you tenfold.
Well, with that being said, you know what we do if you're usual to this. Oh, sorry, you got some else there.
No, because we're gonna obviously close out with the Ode to New Japan Pro Wrestling, one of the favorite songs that you can hear from Second Suitor. But I also want to just shout out to Tyler and the guys. They're dropping a music video.
Oh yeah,
tomorrow for Sprankles. On their social media. We'll be sharing it at OD Parlay Hour and all throughout the 607 podcast social media. So definitely excited to see what they have coming up, but obviously we have to close out here with One Winged Angel.
Yep, and when we close out, remember, we'll be back next week every day, every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on twitch.tv/607 podcast for the wrestling show, or if you're listening on the Three Fat Nerds network of podcasting, well, thank you guys for listening as well. And we're in your ear holes every week. We will be back next week for the wrestling show. I do believe TLC preview show next week.
Yes, next week.
As much other things. And then keep your eyes posted. We got a lot of stuff lined up. It's going to be an awesome time. Thank you guys so much. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we will see you when we're live again next week for the wrestling show or anytime in between. Later, guys. Have a good night. Enjoy.
See ya.
One Winged Angel.
got a plan to shatter the hourglass, emptying all of the sand. This moment is infinite, dancing along with the band. Will you sing with only one wing? The angel I've looked for, and she can't stop looking at me. So reach for my hand. The hot tag in your corner, our faction will never disband. The ace of my eye, look alive, so surprised that she's walking towards me. A smile I see, connect from the top ropes. 1, 2,